Live from the Findlay Toyota studio, you're listening to ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, here we go. Cofield and Company here on a Tuesday. John Von Tobel's across the way. James is running the show. It's Cofield. Big show on the way. We got an in-studio guest here joining us in just a couple seconds. A lot of UNLV news today. I was out at football practice this morning, so we'll push back our daily camp report to the 5 o'clock hour. But big NFL signings, obviously a lot more on the Raiders and joint practice today. We're going to check in with one of the folks, one of the stars of the network, Brandy or Q, who are down in H-Town covering today's joint practice and then the game on Thursday. What's going on?
I only heard one star in that listing of folks that work for this network.
Right.
This is Brandy Flores, as she likes to say. And I will not get us off on the wrong foot to talk about my experience at the grocery store. I will not distract us.
Please don't sidetrack us.
I won't.
I have to tee up traffic later on because you called me all angry about traffic last week, and I forgot to put in the rundown, but we'll get to that. So we've got John Saccenti in studio. As John, of course, the executive director of the Las Vegas Bowl and a power player in town and much to get to. You know that when you come in, we kind of blend you into the show.
I love it.
So we got to start with actually pretty big UNLV basketball news. So yesterday we had on Josh Pastner, and Josh was coming on to talk about the schedule, which he mentioned about 3 times over the course of, I think, three-minute stints and 21 home games in essence. You can get your tickets at unlvtickets.com. It's a very good schedule. I even asked him, hey, do you have a roster this year that you feel like you're equipped to play teams like Kansas? Because last year they fell short in the Players era, and that game's in the Players era, but a lot of it was injuries. They had no big men, and they frankly, they shouldn't have lost to Maryland or Rutgers, but they had no big men. So you're better equipped this year. So he went into, and I pushed him on it, hey, the roster is not done yet. He said, I want it done by Sunday because we have a team meeting, and then classes are starting up here, you know, in less than a week, so you got to get all this stuff done. But then he went on and on about, I have no idea what's going to happen because I'm talking to my compliance guy who says very qualified. I called up the NABC, and I'm like, you know, do I take players? Are they going to be eligible? Like, what the hell is going on here? He initially said, I don't know what's going on. He's an attorney. I don't know. He's got to explain it to me in basic English. And then he like rolled through all the different court cases, and my head was spinning. So rumor came out yesterday that they may add another player. Pastner confirmed that they're looking at potentially 2 more spots because they've got Allen Breed, who they signed, but he said the North Carolina State, McNeese State, Providence player. It's hard to remember all the schools now in the portal. It wasn't looking good. So he said they might have 2 openings. So the rumor started yesterday about A.J. Storr, who has Vegas ties because he prepped here 1 year. And we're getting reports across the bow that A.J. Storr, you can tell people who he is, has committed to the Rebels, and they continue to add more and more in terms of 1s, 2s, and 3s, which I really like.
Yeah, so Storr, for those who don't know, pretty big body guard, like 6'5", looks like he's got good size, from Ole Miss, multiple schools, St. John's, Wisconsin, Kansas, then Ole Miss, now here. So an oft-traveled guy. But you can go back and watch some of the stuff that he has done. And to refresh my memory, I was going back and watching some stuff. I watched the 26-point game against Auburn, I think it was last year. Dude can score at all 3 levels. He doesn't really need to be assisted. He can create his own shots. He's pretty strong, so a lot of finishing through contact. If you need an isolation score, it seems like he'll be able to get it done. I kind of like it. Like you said, we talked to Pastor at the Summer League, about a month ago now, and one of the themes of these new bodies and just the roster overall was versatile ball handling, and that's exactly what Storr is going to give to you as well.
So, John, you don't necessarily have to comment on the UNLV basketball roster, but I just want your feedback that you get from coaches, because you talk to a lot of football coaches. I don't know how much you talk to basketball coaches. Without going into how much they whine, they do have valid complaints about we're in a wild, wild west right now because there's no rule set, and this 5-and-5 thing for basketball is a fluid deal. So what do they say? Like, to me, I think Pastner had to do this. Even if Storr and someone else aren't eligible, you have to go out and grab players, because if you don't, people are going to look at you at the end of the season when they are good to go, during the season, and they're like, hey, what were you doing? It's a weird position.
I didn't know any of that, to be honest with you, but the world of college athletics right now, it doesn't surprise me much. I can't believe here we are, approaching the start of football season, and you're talking about, the basketball team potentially adding more players.
John, it's every day, like especially right now because these 5-and-5 players are all getting cleared, and I think basically the edict now is like the transfer portal doesn't matter. I thought you had to go into the portal because we had all these super seniors who were done, and we're like, why was Jaden Bradley from the football team he's looking to go into the portal, maybe he should have now, but we were like, why are they going in the portal? Because my idea or my thoughts on it. My belief was that you had to be in the portal back months ago, but now it looks like I don't know if the portal even matters. So it's a freaking free-for-all.
Here's the problem. Everybody hated the NCAA, and the NCAA made a lot of mistakes and didn't do a lot of things, right, and created a lot of problems. What happened over the last few years, the NCAA threw their hands in the air, right, said, okay, we're done. We're tired of getting sued. We're tired of dealing with this stuff. And what happened? There's no conference or no commissioner of a sport, if you will. Conferences are kind of playing by own rules. Conferences are not going to reprimand their own schools because they want their schools to be successful. And to your point, you made the point. It's the wild, wild west, right? And so until you have, same rules and a governing body and somebody kind of to enforce the rules, I think we're going to live with this a little bit. I think we're getting closer to it. Football gets the majority of the media, but obviously, basketball and the other sports are front of mind with everything they're doing. But they better get going quick on establishing some rules and enforcing some rules.
We're closer to
and
it.
Some order. Otherwise, college athletics is, in my opinion, it's the best, right? It has everything in it, and despite all the flaws and how we've tried to screw it up so much, it still continues to be as successful as it is. Mm-hmm. But there's got to be some order here soon.
Let me get your take on this one because this is part of restoring order. When they put in the 5-and-5 and there's still 2022 seniors out there, they're like, wait, how come we're not included? So that's the problem here. They should have made a ruling and moved forward without having loose ends. Jeff Goodman said, one member of the NCAA tournament selection committee told me, quote, the NCAA may not be able to threaten teams that use players deemed ineligible by the NCAA, but I can penalize them and so can other committee members if they want, whether it's by seeding or even not including them in the field. I think Goodman knew what he was writing, although he's feigned a little bit of ignorance since. He's like, this person didn't say, man or woman. They were going to do it, but they could. But that's the kind of chatter that goes on when you've got all this, these fractures and schisms around college sports. You get threats like this.
Yeah, and again, no governing body. You have to have somebody enforcing rules, managing the rules, creating the rules, and then everybody playing by the rules. It's mind-boggling.
So we are in, unfortunately, also a period of misinformation. There's more media than ever, and everyone's trained on a different level, and content creators change everything. Those who have – I basically, to summarize this now, this is the way I kind of look at it. Those content creators who do have access to teams and coaches – are doing access journalism. So they're going to kiss the ass of the program because they don't want to lose their access. Those who don't have access are the hardcore ones who will write anything, say anything, right? And then there's those of us in the middle, the employed journalist, and we have a little of both. But in the end, there's going to, there could be some comeuppance and there's some accountability. I have you in here today ready to say, congrats, good run with the Las Vegas Bowl. I'm sad to see it go because I read a headline last week, Las Vegas Bowl's future in doubt and amid sluggish attendance and unfavorable scheduling. And I was like, okay, everything isn't perfect. But I'm like, the game's going away?
Yeah. Listen, that is some of the laziest reporting I've ever seen. You want to write a story that our game is going away, but at any point you never got a comment from the person running it here. You never reached out to the group that owns the game, which is ESPN. Never reached out to any of our conference partners that we have agreements with. You wrote the story that we're going away 30 minutes after we just got board approval for a new sponsorship. So again, that doesn't even add up to me, to be honest with you. The reality of it is, and I think where the mindset was, well, last time you had a 6-year deal from the convention authority. This year, it's only a 1-year deal. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Well, there's a reason for that. And I explained the reason for that, but the reason for that never made it in. The reason for that is when the CFP rolled everything over by 1 year, nobody in the bowl world has a long-term contract right now. Everybody's operating on a 1-year deal because the conferences won't commit to anything more than the 1 year until they shake out the CFP. So if you're the Orange Bowl, you got a 1-year deal. If you're the Outback Bowl, the Holiday Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, every bowl you name in the country is operating on 1-year deals. So as good partners, which we are, we proposed the 1-year deal to match up until we get our conferences aligned and we're able to tell you what the bowl game looks like going forward. Not that it's going away. It's who are our teams? Who are our conference partners? Are we with the SEC? Are we with the Big Ten? If we can't tell you that, why are we going to ask for a 5 or 6 year deal and a long-term deal if we can't tell you who's in 2 or 3 years from now? So it was a 1-year deal intentionally to match up with our conferences. We're talking to our conferences right now about a long-term deal, and then we'll revisit that. But to say that, the bowl's going away because we got a 1-year deal, and to point out certain things like the player opt-outs, I asked the reporter how many opt-outs did we have last year, and the answer was I don't know. I could tell you. We had 3 and 3. All 3 of those were first or second round draft picks. Totally understandable. Guess what? There was 107 other players that were opting in. All right. The date was a problem. New Year's Eve, the 31st. Guess what? TV ratings were up 10%. That means more people were watching. Economic impact was up massively, which means more people traveled here. They stayed 4.5 days instead of 2.5 days. They stayed for the holiday weekend. The hotels, their revenue was up. They shared their numbers with me. Gaming was up. Hotel was up. Everything was up. They extended their deal by 1 year. Again, another 1-year deal immediately after the game. If things were that bad, I don't think they'd want to stay on board with our game. So the disappointing thing is all the metrics were up. The 1-year deal matches the conference deals, but the headline is the bowl is done. It's incredibly lazy. Again, didn't call ESPN, didn't call conference partners, didn't get anything from me, and just kind of ran with it.
Mick Akers of the RJ wrote the story. He also mentioned low attendance. So what has the attendance been?
So, listen, I can't take that story that seriously because he said the last game at Sam Boyd Stadium only had 20,000 people. That game was Boise State and Washington. Chris Peterson retiring, going against his former team. That game sold out. So that was around 39,000. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. The attendance numbers that were in there are also not accurate. And the one thing that I tried to explain is I said, I understand that somebody's told you that this is how it's formulated, but college deals are very different. And I'll give you an example. Our numbers that he was reporting were off by about 4,000 every single time. And the reason for that is, and this again, ask the questions, I'll give you the answers. In our conference agreements, it specifically says that we have to provide a certain number of credentials for the teams so that they can sell more of their allotted tickets to their fans. They make money on ticket fees. They get more fans in the building. They could take care of people with credentials. I would ask you both, if they're in the building and they're rooting for a team and they're staying here for 4 days in a hotel, eating, drinking, do they count towards an attendance number? My answer would be yes. They're in the building. They're here traveling with the team. Another nice little nugget that's not been accounted for is band and cheer. They have to buy tickets in our agreements. They're purchased tickets. Every one of those band members, every one of those cheerleaders has a purchased ticket as part of our contract. They come in on buses down below the stadium. Those tickets don't get scanned. Mm-hmm. So when I continue to say, hey, can we at least tell that story and explain that, and this is the reason for that, for some reason that isn't. Listen, the attendance has been pretty good. I will say we had 2 years where things were a little bit out of our control, went a little sideways. We could explain it. And the year we had Florida, Oregon State brought about 25,000 people. Florida went 6-6. had a new coach, was very disappointed. They had a bunch of players sit out because they didn't like their new coach, right? They were gone. It was that was a disastrous year. If you remember correctly, too, that was the year we had to move the game after we announced it to 11 a.m. on a weekday, right? Easily explained. The other one, Alabama made the playoff. The Orange Bowl had a different selection. We ended up with Northwestern. Not a lot of people came from Northwestern. You take those two out, and we've had 3 really good games there. So attendance has been the way it was at Sam Boyd. It's just a bigger stadium, so maybe perception-wise it doesn't, but that's our sweet spot. 40,000 people, give or take, and that's not bad for a bowl game.
John Saccenti's with us, Las Vegas Bowl. We'll come back. We'll talk about what the future holds because it's very important, again, to kind of double down on why there's a one-year deal because we talk about it on the show all the time. College football is in a period of upheaval. We don't know what the college football playoff is going to look like, and John can tell us what that is going to mean for a Las Vegas game or technically the Las Vegas Bowl.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, rolling on here on this Tuesday, we are graced by the presence of the executive director of the Las Vegas Bowl, John Saccenti, who was just telling us that the Las Vegas Bowl is not going away in spite of what the RJ wrote suggestively in a headline. They followed up the story, didn't really give many details, and then I don't know what happens on these newspaper staffs. I'm guessing Ed Graney had to write a makeup story but couldn't annihilate Mick Akers, so he wrote a story over the weekend, basically suggesting the game is fine. Mm-hmm. The source of the story was Steve Hill, which I find a fascinating angle. You work with the LVCVA. You have for years. The LVCVA is juggling a lot of different things now, John. So I'll ask you straight out, where is the Las Vegas Bowl in their mind in this large group of things that they back?
Well, listen, we are the bowl game has been here for 35 years, right? That's a long time, an annual running event. We're the second longest running annual event other than the NFR. For those that don't remember, the LVCVA actually owned the Las Vegas Bowl for the first 10 years. So another part of that story that bothered me a little bit was putting the all-time attendance record, and it's not that great. Well, let's keep in mind that the first 11 years or first 10 years the bowl game was run. It was run at Sam Boyd Stadium with the Big West, no staff, no executive director, a couple convention authority people that paid attention to it the 3 weeks leading up to it, right? Mm-hmm. And so 8, 9, 10,000 people there for the first 10 years out at Sam Boyd. ESPN bought the game from the convention authority because everybody believed that it was going to drive tourism in the month of December, which we wanted to, and it was going to be a boost. And it did exactly that, right? We had 12 consecutive sellouts at Sam Boyd Stadium. We were consistently 36 to 40,000. We've set the attendance record for college football multiple times, and drove $1.6 billion in economic impact to the city over those 35 years. That's really good. During the traditionally slow month, we kept people working in the casinos. We kept heads in beds. We kept everything moving. But the other part to that business is it's opened up so many other doors in the college space. We were the ones that brought the conference commissioners to town to present the opportunity for college basketball conference tournaments. Guess what? Now we have them all. Right? We brought the conference commissioners to town to say, hey, we're getting a nice new shiny stadium. This has got to be a CFP destination at some point. If everybody remembers way back when, Vegas was such a bad place for college athletics, if you will, I'm putting my air quotes up, we would have to petition the NCAA every single year to have the game here, present plans, show them how we're going through the hotels, through the casinos. We were single-handedly fighting for college athletics here in Las Vegas. And the turning point, quite frankly, was when ESPN took ownership of it. We went to the Pac-12 and we said, okay, we got to take the game to the next level. Tom Hansen, the commissioner at the time, did not want any part of Las Vegas. So what did we do? We brought him out here. We brought a couple other conference commissioners out here. We had to meet with hotel and casino operators, specifically sportsbook operators. Show them how this works. Show them how this operates. Vegas is your friend. Mm-hmm. Vegas is not the one you have to worry about. You got to worry about the small-time people on campus. Vegas will root it out for you. When the education process took place, that's when everybody felt a little bit more comfortable. And signing the Pac-12 into that bowl game was a massive, massive thing for college athletics in Las Vegas. Once you had the traditional, anti-Vegas commissioner, which was Tom Hansen, embrace Las Vegas and talk about how great it was and the experience and that the kids were getting and how everything was great, it kind of opened up the floodgates there. Well, if Tom likes Vegas and Tom's okay with Vegas, then we should embrace Vegas. But it's been a great run. It's opened up, like I said, the doors in college athletics, but it's opened up the other opportunities for us. These kickoff games are going to we've already announced over the next 5 years we're going to have kickoff games here in Las Vegas. LSU USC just a couple years ago, the biggest college game in the history of the state, set the attendance record at Allegiant Stadium. We're going to continue to do stuff like that. You saw we've announced 5 more over the next couple of years. We're already working on a couple more. We had a call on one today. So all of that comes from the Las Vegas Bowl being a staple in this community, having the ties to Las Vegas, driving tourism. But if we're not doing our job as the Las Vegas Bowl and we don't have those relationships, those kickoff games are not taking place and not happening.
So you mentioned we talked about the one-year sponsorship deal and the reason behind that. When the college football playoff eventually does expand, what do you think the Las Vegas Bowl's place is in college football in the bowl season?
So I've done all 4 media days this year, and as you can imagine, every one of them, that's all we were talking about, right? What's the CFP going to do? I've heard 15 different scenarios that have happened. The one that interests me the most is, should they go to 24 teams, right? And again, 15 different scenarios floating out there. Nobody ever knows what's actually going to happen. But I will tell you, if there's ever a 1% chance of something, and we're talked about in that 1% chance, we're going to see that thing through. So the one that's most interesting to me is there's been talk about if they go to 24, the experiment to have games on campus, I think everybody would agree went pretty well, right? Mm-hmm. The atmosphere, the environment. People were worried that schools wouldn't be able to flip over in that short amount of time. That was okay, given the fact that it was so close to the end of the season. It does get a little trickier in cold weather places. Like I remember meeting with Michigan, and they're like, we shut the stadium down, the whole town shuts down. We can't reopen in another month and flip it that quick, right? You got frozen pipes, you've got this, you've got that. If they go to 24 and they put more games on campus, there has been talk of, why don't we bid out the quarterfinals and the semifinals and then have a finals game? But we're going to bid them out to existing bowl cities. So if there's a chance that we're going to have a bigger role and the playoff is going to go to 24 and there's going to be, and nobody knows if it's going to or not, but do you think the bowl game is going to go anywhere if there's an opportunity for us to be in the quarterfinal talk or the semifinal talk? We're going to see this thing play out. Listen, if you look at the West Coast and you look at the landscape of the West Coast for college football and bowl games and everything else, like San Francisco was an experiment that didn't quite work. We have the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona, the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, but doesn't have that tie-in that they used to the traditional Pac-12 Big Ten tie-in. The Big Ten views Vegas as their West Coast hub now. They love it here. Oh, wow. They want to plant the flag here. They continue to want to do business here. We're talking to them about a whole bunch of other things as well. The SEC understands that you've got to get out of your footprint now. We've got to have a West Coast presence. The ACC has 2 West Coast teams, which is still weird to me. Mm-hmm. So they have to have a West. So when you're looking at a West Coast presence, you're looking at a market, and you're looking at the sports and entertainment city, you're gonna want to play ball with them. Plus, you put the ESPN equation into it. Look, we're gonna continue to drive business in that space, and it's all going to be through the lens of the bowl game.
John Saccenti, Las Vegas Bowl. One light note to hit before we go to break. John, you sent over a link to a video from the new lady who's covering UNLV at Fox 5, and Mullen was running after practice.
He was. There's no way he does that.
I retweeted it with him running on August 4th.
Running after somebody or just running?
Oh, like he had done it before.
He runs laps around the field. He'll come out and he does a little workout inside most days.
Run is strong.
And then
it's
a light jog. He's how old was he? 54 years old. It's 1,000 degrees.
He's only 54.
He's actually younger than me.
Yeah, he's 50. He's 54.
Go figure.
Ish. But he did just have knee surgery a couple years ago, which actually is the reason he ended up kind of sort of knowing about UNLV and what it had because of the injured knee. So he probably shouldn't be running out there. But he did run the Boston Marathon. So he has it in him. I don't know if he could still do it, but he did run the Boston Marathon. So I give him the credit, something I can never, ever, ever do. Not many of us can.
When are you going to run marathon? You keep sending over a note that you run 10K.
That's right.
Big deal.
Another one today. We're working on it. What do you mean?
It's not a marathon.
Come on now. When was the last time you ran 10K?
I'm a lot older than you.
I don't think either one of us should be throwing stones at him. He looks great.
He's got himself in shape.
Ripped.
Come on, buddy. Come on.
As John caught on last week, JVT's gotten himself in shape for now.
Oh, yeah, Steve doesn't believe. Steve wants me to gain the weight back.
I don't want you to gain the weight
at
back,
all.
but I'm telling you that's like more than half the battle.
Hard to lose these pipes, brother.
You can get those enveloped in blubber real quick. Trust me.
One trip to Jersey and some pork rolls, and you're done.
I don't know. The trip to New Orleans for the Super Bowl was very dangerous, too. If I ever go back there, there's a chance I have to go for a bachelor party. I might have to gain it all back in a week.
Johnson said he's going to stay around for a couple more minutes. I want to talk about the AP poll and Group of Six, and because we got a lot on that today. And just your view on where the polls are now. Does the poll matter anymore? Because I do think it matters from this standpoint. A lot of the voters just simply do not do their homework on Group of Six. So they're really unaware of what's going on in these conferences.
It's always free.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
John Von Tobel, I saw you on Silver State, Fox 5. And you said exactly – you look great, man. You're buff.
Thank you.
You can tell you run. You said exactly what I actually said on a Memphis radio station this morning about Group of Six and how the media who votes in the AP poll has no awareness.
None whatsoever. Because a lot of people were surprised that UNLV wasn't ranked. But I think the big surprise should be that not a single Group of 6 team was ranked in the AP poll. I think you can make the argument UNLV, Boise State, all deserving potentially of being 25th.
I don't think – I'm not surprised they didn't make it because most power polls, computer polls have had Boise, UNLV, Navy,
sure.
and schools in Group of Six somewhere from like 40 to 65.
Yes, but
which is fine. But I also don't believe that the voters even know that.
That's the thing. And if you look at the total amount of votes that some of these teams got, that to me is what the issue is. And as I told them on Fox 5, none of these voters are, I think, aware of what happens, which is incredible. And I think it's actually worse for them. In today's day and age of information and the ability to find out stuff about teams, it's easier than ever. Now should be the time where you're more educated on everything else as opposed to back in 1980 where you had to send stuff by carrier pigeon to go get any bit of information. Like, this is a time when you should be able to find and do the most research. And I think it was more of a slight on these voters that not a single one of these Group of 6 teams you deemed worthy to be one of the top 25 teams in the country.
I'm gonna go back to how we started this. I think you have lazy reporters, right? I to your point, I just don't think people did their homework, looked into it enough. This day and age, like, go with the name brand. But you might have to fact check me on this. Didn't the Mountain West not do a prediction order? So
Big 12, same thing. Just
yeah,
got rid
Big
of
12,
it.
same thing.
Let's not set any precedent too early when we really don't know what's going to happen.
Correct. And so did some of the media guys just say, they didn't get ranked in or predicted to win their conference at their conference media days? Did that have something to do with it? I don't know. I mean, here at the end of the day, does it matter if
no.
like a school like UNLV, you have the opportunity to just take care of that, right? You start with Memphis, who's talked about as being one of those teams to be there. You've got North Texas, who was good last year, that's talked about being there. You get a Power 4 Cal right there. You go take care of business, and then Hawaii, who's supposed to be pretty good, you go take care of business with those, and all will be fine.
This may sound like I'm ripping UNLV. I think the reason UNLV has been picked by so many media people to be the Group of 6 representative is because of Dan Mullen.
Sure.
I don't think they know the roster either.
I think you're absolutely right.
I will say, because I fought you years ago on this, I am the only person in the country who actually believes that the stretching out of college football is actually not happening. I actually think it's shrinking down. I don't care that certain schools spend $40 million on the roster because I think player personnel judgment is so inexact. It may give you a little better chance, but there's a whole crew of players that are coming down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of those players coming down weren't that far off from playing at the Power 4, whatever the hell we're calling it now, And so teams below are actually getting lined up with guys that they didn't have a chance at before, and especially veteran guys.
Well, and I'll say this too, and there's something to that, and then there's something to a really good football coach who is a big believer in developing players, right? And you mentioned Dan specifically. If you think about at one point, I think he had recruited and coached and developed the 3 highest paid players in the NFL, right? With Dak Prescott, right? Dak Prescott was a 3-star guy that maybe people overlooked. Turned out to be pretty good. Chris Jones, 3-star guy that got overlooked in Mississippi, highest paid defensive guy. So you have a guy with a reputation. To your point, Steve, the players are coming down a little bit with a guy with a reputation, and then a coach that wants to develop guys that maybe aren't quite there yet, and it's the perfect recipe.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fascinating yesterday with Special Teams Day for media availability, and the punter they got, Matt Schulz, is like, Dan Mullen puts punters and specialists in the pros. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm at UNLV. I'm like, okay, he does. He has a track record of doing it. And, his ties to Australia, they've been very successful. Hell, not to go, Jeff Choate route and be like, you come and punt here, you're going to make, $300,000 at Michigan. But actually, Cam Brown, I don't know what he's making. But Cam Brown, their punter from last year in Aussie, left for Michigan. So they have a good track record, Mullen and company, of developing special teamers.
Well,
all right.
And now my trainer is a former Australian pro Aussie football player. So now I got him, looking into the next wave of Australian kids for us.
John, we appreciate you coming in. Again, remind people the date of the game, and tickets on sale now or going on sale soon.
They are not on sale. We're gonna do what we've done the last couple years. We're gonna wait till Selection Sunday. But the game's the 31st again, 12:45. So we are unopposed on New Year's Eve. We'll be done by 4:30. Everybody can go enjoy New Year's. But having an SEC team, we still got the 1 year left with quote unquote the Pac-12 legacy. So which those teams that are in those conferences should be pretty good, right? It's the same ones, the USCs, the Utahs, the Arizona States. So I expect a good matchup. Again, the SEC really values this market, and so we're gonna see it. We're gonna see it all play out, and I think it'll be another good one.
All right, John. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for all you guys do.
Coming up next, a little MMA, a little autumn windbags, a breakdown of the Raiders from the preseason game, and also what happened today in the joint practice in H-Town.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Boy, crazy day. Here on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. John Von Tobel, Cofield. RJ Clifford joins us every Tuesday, and we got I don't know if I want to use a humdinger of a UFC to break down, because that was a little bit of a weird event. RJ, what's going on, buddy?
Crazy day, huh? Is that why you brought me in, to calm everything down?
You usually do, right?
Nerves all settled.
Voice of reason. That main event was frustrating, and I saw you put it, I'm going to paraphrase, basically, Ian Machado Gary was very much in the fight, but he couldn't beat the clock.
Yeah, so Islam Makhachev, the welterweight champion, former lightweight champion, is the best fighter in mixed martial arts. He's the pound-for-pound number one, and ever since Ilia Topuria lost to Justin Gaethje, there really isn't a close second. He is that good. And Ian Machado Gary is presented a unique challenge for him. Makhachev, like I mentioned, was a former lightweight. This is only his second fight up 15 pounds at 170. He's never fought a guy with the same height and reach as someone like Ian Gary. And the whole MMA kind of community thought, okay, this is going to be an interesting challenge for Islam Makhachev. This is a very unique physical challenge. And Ian Gary, love him or hate him, most people hate him, is strategically brilliant. He is just so good at finding out what gray area his opponent doesn't excel at and keeping the fight there. So Islam Makhachev, being the champ that he is and as good as he is, gutted it out. But Ian Machado Gary just found kind of little safe spaces where he wouldn't eat a lot of ground and pound. He wasn't really a threat to get submitted. He was safe, but he wasn't escaping. He wasn't countering. He was just kind of coasting. There just wasn't a sense of urgency out of Ian Gary, and it cost him a 49-46 fight.
I saw Kenny Florian melting down over the fact that there was a lot of hugging, and some of it was going on during the fight, and he said, I've had it, man. Like, go out and compete. Go out and try to win the fight.
Yeah, I don't know if this was there's 17% of me that thinks maybe Ian Gary was trying to get in Islam's head Like after every round, it was like an embrace. It was like the hold the back of the head and put your foreheads together like you're meeting your newborn for the first time. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, part of me wants to give him the benefit of the doubt. The other part of me just like, I think he's just scared he was fighting Islam Makhachev. Kind of a weird guy, Ian Gary. I think there should be a standing rule at all times. You're only allowed to hug your opponent during a fight if rounds 1 through 4 are like a blood and guts fight of the year affair. You come out for round 5, you dab each other up, say, hey, wow, that's been amazing. Let's do 5 more minutes. If you ever hug again, deduct a point. I'm sick of it. It takes me out of the fight, makes it not fun. I hate it.
Well, here's how justice is meted in the UFC. Dana White said, after the fight, didn't love it, didn't love the competitive spirit. So my guess is Machado Gary, maybe Dana will calm down, but he may be penalized by not getting great fights and big paydays moving forward until he goes out and proves that he's a killer.
Yeah, there's not a lot going great for someone as good as Ian Machado Gary right now. I mean, even if he gave him the fight of the year and looked absolutely awesome, welterweight is so stacked with contenders that if you're in the back of the line, you're waiting a while, no matter how long your win streak is. Carlos Prates to Michael Morales, they showed them on the broadcast. Those 2 guys are lined up for title shots. You got Sean Brady back on the winning track. You got Gabriel Bonfim fighting Sean Brady coming up in a couple months. And you still have former champions like Bilal Muhammad, Leon Edwards still kind of floating around. You got hot up-and-comers like Uros Medic, who dazzled in the Serbian main event not that long ago. It's loaded, man. So you're going to need like a 5-fight win streak and all the favors to get a title shot in that division, which is a good thing. That's that competitive.
What'd you make of Mackenzie Dern's comments after her victory and looking ahead to Weili Zhang potentially as an opponent?
She has the belt. She defended it. And Weili, Weili went up a weight class to try to win a belt, a title at another weight class. Wasn't successful, so she had to relinquish that belt. She'll eventually come down and fight whoever the champion is at that time. Her shadow is cast over the entire strawweight division. Yes, Mackenzie Dern is the champion. She won it fair and square. She defended it fair and square, fairly dominantly. But Weili, I don't know what the odds would be if they fight, but Weili, I imagine, 3-1 favorite, even with that long layoff. She has just been that dominant of a fighter in that weight class. So Mackenzie Dern has the right attitude. I got the belt. I'm getting the money. They all have to come to me. But when eventually and hopefully those 2 collide, it's going to be Weili that people think is the favorite.
RJ Clifford, MMA expert, also hosts the Autumn Windbags podcast about the Raiders. Dean Thomas in the crosshairs because he had some weird comments after the fight. What do you think about what he said about his fighter, that he was Dunsky?
So for a guy that had incredible timing as a fighter, he has the worst PR timing of a broadcaster. So for those who missed it, Dean Thomas is the head coach for Jillian Robertson, who lost to Mackenzie Dern in the semifinal, in the co-main event of UFC 330. He's been training her since she was an amateur at American Top Team, and has been her primary coach for at least 6 or 7 years now. And if you asked Mackenzie Dern before the fight, she would say over half of her success is due to Dean Thomas as her coach. That's just how influential he's been. So he was part of the desk production broadcast crew, and also the corner for Mackenzie Dern at the exact for Jillian Robertson at the exact same event. So he cornered her in the co-main event, put on the suit, went up to the desk, and said, "I am done cornering. I am over cornering fighters. I am retiring from cornering. This is as far as Jillian's going to go, and I'm never going to do it again." Worst timing ever. The entire MMA community has just been jumping down Dean Thomas's throat because and I'm with them that the timing was atrocious. But I will say this in defense of Dean Thomas. He has been hinting publicly for years and saying privately for years that he despises coaching and cornering. He doesn't want to do it anymore, but he just put so much into Jillian, and Jillian needed to hit him so much he was going to stick around and do it. He's also a guy that will delete his social media for months at a time. He's a guy that is completely sober. And he's seen guys like Anthony Smith and Dustin Poirier, fighters that are retired and not know how to handle it, and the mental health space that we know exists in that spot. And he thinks cornering fighters is one more element that could take him down a wrong path. So, again, not a defense of the timing, but I think this is something he's wanted to do for a while for the right reasons, and he just could not pick a worse time and worst way to announce it.
RJ Clifford on Cofield and Company. Was the best fight of the weekend the cheesesteak eating contest? Did you even do it?
So there was no. So what it ended up being was a pretzel eating contest with these thick, like like robust pretzels, and then a shaved ice eating contest, which was just fighting brain freeze.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, man, Chris Weidman on the weigh-in show, I understand now why he was a world champion athlete. Like the way he gutted through that brain freeze, he's on his knees screaming, but he's still just taking this little cardboard cup, folding it like a taco, just so we can still get the shaved ice faster into his face. Just mind over matter, man. What a hero.
Did you partake, or was just the on-air personalities?
On our personalities, I was the judge. I'm the one that had to look in their mouths when they were done and say, "Oh, nothing's still there anymore," while trying to keep my sides from splitting, laughing so hard.
We talked about the cheesesteak eating contest and some of the special rules that were being asked for, like no cheese on the cheesesteak, and I got super pissed off after you went off the air. I was like, this is absurd. It's an insult to Philadelphia. So I'm glad you didn't do it with some cockamamie rules of no cheese on a cheesesteak.
If I know there's one thing where you want to stick to the rules, make sure the Constitution stays unencumbered, it would be food eating.
Yeah.
With you, Cofield.
I
You're
was.
a purist.
Well,
You're a purist.
I'm a purist.
What kind of cheese was it? Because I have learned that cheese whiz is the proper cheese for a cheesesteak, correct?
It depends where you go, and everyone claims that like they have the original and they have the one. But yeah, cheese whiz is extremely common, which seems like that's a weird hill to die on. Like my cheese that comes out of an like an aerosol can is like the secret ingredient to what makes this correct.
But it's hot and liquefied,
I know.
you know?
Yeah.
Autumn Windbags podcast. RJ Clifford does that podcast. Okay, give me your impressions of the first game. Joint practice happened today. We're reading the reports on that. But what do you think of Mendoza? I saw a lot of people raving about it. And, of course, we've got national people who are like, just get him out there.
I thought he performed well. I said before what I wanted to see most was how he overcame adversity. Like I've seen him at practice under center. I've seen him do play action. I've seen him try to jive with his receivers and his tight ends and running backs. I really wanted, for Mendoza specifically, I really wanted to see how he overcame adversity under bright lights at that big stadium. And he did well. There were some third and longs he was able to convert. That touchdown pass where he threaded the needle beautifully. That was a nice sign. Again, you know, I would love Cofield to come out here and get super excited about what I saw in a preseason football game, in the very first one. I'm not gonna. It might be better for the audience if I did, but I just can't get too worked up about it. It's a baby step. It's an elaborate practice. I honestly learn more from the joint practices than I do from the preseasons because the ones play more. So a lot to be excited about for Mendoza, but I don't think anything over the top to get jacked about.
How much do we take from at least some positive signs from one Jack Besh?
Every single season, there is a MVP from the preseason that you never, ever hear from again, right? I'll start with that. But I will end with, he looked good. Route running was solid. He's definitely a guy that I think Clint Kubiak wants in his offense because he can block. He's just built like a small linebacker, even though he's playing wide receiver. He can play in the slot. I mean, just imagine if your targets are Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, and Jack Besh. Like, you're gonna have some great blocking downfield. Imagine being cornerbacks and safeties, and that's who's coming to get you. I think he is perfectly suited and is in a position to succeed. It's just up to him to keep it up.
Less than 30 seconds left. Based on some of the performances in the preseason game, are you worried about that other cornerback spot across from Stokes?
Very much so. And this goes to show you that the Raiders could have easily went out there and spent $8 million, $10 million on a 7-year veteran to fill that spot, but it's not about this season. It's about moving forward. So I'm worried about it for this season, but I think there's enough different types of cornerbacks on the Raiders roster to be able to fill what they want. I don't think it's going to be a lot of growing pains this season, absolutely, but I think there's enough moving parts and enough versatility where they have a season to figure it out.
RJ, you rule. We'll catch up with you next Tuesday. Thank you.
Later, boys.
At RJ Clifford MMA. Really good stuff on mixed martial arts, and then the Autumn Windbag podcast. Big hour of UNLV football talk. Speaking of that, openers coming up on Saturday. Check that. 2 Saturdays from now. Last Saturday without football, but openers coming up here against Memphis. We got a pair of tickets to see UNLV take on Memphis at Allegiant 2 Saturdays from now. Caller 7. James is going to hook you up. Caller 7, 364-1100. You want to go to the opener, UNLV taking on Memphis in a very, very pivotal game. We'll build on that. 364-1100, caller 7.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
to say one of the dumber things I've said on the show. I just saw breaking news, and I was just talking to the SO about this last night. Why I spend time off the show breaking down the struggles of Edwin Diaz with my Dodger friend or Dodger fan girlfriend is beyond me. And she, she's just like, okay. She's like, I'm a Dodger fan, but you don't need to break down that he came back too early. Yeah. But he's on the DL. IL.
IL, thank you, Steve.
Yes, disabled list. So they brought him back too soon, and he has been a freaking disaster. And you know what this means. They do have a guy that they can shore up the bullpen with as long as these starters stay upright. Roki Sasaki is going to go back to the bullpen. He was awesome as a closer. They're going to need him there again. And Scott was actually doing a pretty good job.
He will, but will he do it now? Only because Robleski just hit the IL. Ohtani's not pitching. Feel like you need Sasaki in your starting rotation for now?
Glasnow's doing his last of 4 rehabs.
Yeah.
Now, that said, he could come back and throw 3 innings, and my back hurts again. And Snell has come back and made 2 starts. Yeah. So they're starting to fill out the rotation. But, not a bad point because Ohtani, I don't know when they're going to try to bring him back. My guess is they just give him a couple of tune-ups, like 2 starts before the playoffs.
It is crazy because I was reading this the other day. So Robleski goes, on the IL with forearm inflammation, which is always pretty bad. Mm-hmm. But in the report, there's just like this bottom note where it's like he doesn't really have a spot in this rotation for the playoffs. You're just like, hey, you're right. Like they're so deep and so good. They're just like, we'll just take this guy and throw him in the bullpen.
Battleborn Injury Lawyers presents The Big 4 at 4. Number 4.
I don't even want to talk about the Bus family thing from yesterday. I feel like every hour there was a new story coming down. How incredible was that? As we see a story that the Buses are going to sell out of their remaining 17.8%. Okay, well, I guess they all decided to cash in, right? And a nice clean break with this new group with Kushner and Bob Iger. And then Jeannie comes over the top and she's like, the hell you are. You're not selling this team. And then, or selling our shares. And then I see a bunch of people are like, this is Jeannie continuing to put her thumb on these dudes, and they got revenge on her because they didn't need her vote. So I don't know how this is going to work out.
Yep.
But this is also, I like Jeannie, but it's also a woman who has, I don't want to say done dirty, because I also believe as a lot, the brothers don't care. They don't care about basketball. They're just enjoying being rich kids. But that one Jeannie quote from years ago, I think it was to Jim, like, you should have never been born. Like, okay.
It's crazy.
So I could see where those guys are like, okay, now we have a chance to stick it to Sis. Let's do it.
Yep. This whole thing is so juicy. I love it because at the very core of it, it's just siblings bickering with each other, it would seem. So there's no, we talked about the sale of the Lakers and maybe the underlying aspects of it and Kushner being involved. Nope, none of that. This is just pure family drama and beef. The other part of this, where I think it was Jeannie's lawyer in the statement alleged that the other Bus members were using Shams and going back to this. Did you see the statement that he put out? That's incredible. And it's just pure family pettiness, which is insane because, I have petty members of my family, but to do it to the point where you're just like, you know what? Billions of dollars. We're just going to do this instead. And we're going to sell our share to the team so she gets screwed over. Because I think part of it, too, is they're hoping that whatever they want to call, what's the term, memorandum of understanding, whatever it is, that she's going to be the governor for those now 4 years, maybe it's just going to dry up if they sell their shares.
Right. They know she wants it, and that makes her significant. I do think she is a steward to the fans, though, because we've got we had a new ownership group with the Lakers. Now you have another ownership group. Like, she can't guarantee anything, but at least she's around to kind of care for, the Laker fandom and the roster. But I wonder if Dr. Jerry Buss were still alive, and I didn't know the guy, but I wonder how he would look at this if he would take both sides and be like, well, Jeannie, you kind of were a jerk at time to those guys, or he'd look at the guys and be like, I took tens of millions of dollars, and I made you guys $10 billion plus. Yep. Can you not fight after I'm dead, you little bastards?
With this, you can fight, but just don't use this, obviously. It's a disrespect to me in my memory.
It's embarrassing.
But I'll say this. I don't know if you covered this angle. There is one person that is watching this and looking back and forth and praying to God that Jeannie Buss wins. Because Rob Pelinka...
I thought you were going to say the Ramby.
No. Rob Pelinka is probably sitting there going, please, Jeannie, win somehow because you're the reason why I've been employed for this long.
Number 3.
Oh, I didn't get to the best question in that whole topic. Yeah. Hit number 4 again. We had to do an extended number 4.
Number 4.
What's the worst thing you've done to screw over a family member? What's the worst thing you've done to screw a family member? I couldn't think of anything.
I couldn't either.
I haven't been around my family enough. I've been gone for like 30 years.
Actually.
I moved out here August 26th of 96. So that's coming up. I don't really I don't think my younger brother would have anything. My older brother might have something, but I think it would be very minor.
I have something.
And believe me, folks, I'm fully aware that I'm an SOB.
Yeah.
And I can be really mean. Believe me, that's coming up in less than 5.
I have something, but I don't. This wasn't on purpose, right? So, like, when you screw over a family member like this, the pettiness of the buses is purposeful. They're doing this to screw Jeannie. I will say, I feel like I can tell this story. When I was a youngster, a family member of mine, I may or may not have found marijuana cigarettes in their pack of cigarettes, and then in the midst of the DARE program, freaked out and ran to tell my father.
Oh, wow. I guess, could there be a snitching situation?
Right.
I wasn't a big snitcher.
Who would do that?
I kind of learned early on to keep everything close to the vest, so I was not a snitcher. I still am not a snitcher.
I was in the midst of the DARE program.
And if you tell me something, then I'm not going to tell anyone. But
we were given a lot of false information about marijuana and its negative side effects.
You were just trying to help.
I was trying to put them on the straight and narrow.
Man, look at how things have turned out.
I would never.
You were doing that.
Yeah.
You. All right, number 3.
Number 3.
Is this Bill O'Reilly? No, but it was a good visual as a news anchor. I think is fighting with a producer behind the scenes. We don't know the sound on this. I don't know why I'm doing the story, but it got pretty nasty. What was the weird reference in it? Was there like a Geez Louise?
Yeah, something like that. I think it was the JC dropped.
Well, there's definitely an F-bomb
Yeah.
and a B thrown in there.
Yeah. Don't be a B, which was really good. To the point, a producer had to come in and calm the woman down. Say, like, relax.
What did you think of the fight in general?
I thought it should have gotten way worse. I've been in worse scraps.
Exactly.
Like, if you have something to say, we say it. All right?
Well, some do.
And I may or may not have been in one of those scraps just about a month ago in my own
you are.
studio over at VSiN. That's right.
That was a month ago?
Maybe 2 months ago now.
Was someone
It was
from
one.
another show?
It was from Paul Howard.
Yeah.
Let's tell the story. Me and Paul were dropping F-bombs and screaming at each other. Stormy was standing between us. Stormy Bonatoni.
Blown away, right?
Blown away by us calling each other the F-bombs and all this. At that point, it was a while ago, too, because you're right, it was maybe more than a month ago, because I had my mustache. Because I may or may not have been called a mustached F. In the
I don't even know what that means.
In the midst of this argument.
Because he can't grow one.
To which I responded, F you, and then we just started screaming at each other over, by the way, this is great, a shirt. And the dress code at our studio. And then the next day, what's up, Paul? Hey, did you see this? Yeah, I saw that. But good.
For the most part, in sports talk radio, if we bicker, it's usually handled within a show, and HR doesn't have to come in. Here's the story, and you can go watch this up on TMZ, with an anchor fighting with a producer and calling her names. Now that someone put that out publicly, that will have to go to HR. Mm-hmm. And who do you think put it out publicly? Mm-hmm. I would have to think the producer stuck it to her.
Oh, yeah.
And found a way to leak it to TMZ.
That's a good point. I mean, but it's somewhat mundane.
I think.
But you're right, because there's
I'm
a lot
not
of
going to
times.
say guys versus women. I think, and we're in a testosterone-driven deal here.
Yeah.
There is bickering and yelling at each other. That, like you said, that whole thing with that lady and her producer pales in comparison.
I mean, I would also say, too, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of videos that pop up on the internet that makes a person look awful, but it's that person who uploaded it because they just believe they're so in the right. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody's going to agree with me, of course. When, you probably shouldn't have that big of an ego.
Number 2.
So if you missed the 3 o'clock hour, we had in John Saccenti, and we were pointing out that there was a weird story in the RJ saying the Las Vegas Bowl might be done because they just signed a deal. It's only a 1-year deal instead of the traditional 5 or 6 year deal. They were down a little bit of money. LVCVA put up $1.5 million. Saccenti explained all the different things, and a lot of the points in the story were kind of ridiculous. I explained it earlier that we're now getting a light shined on access journalism, and there's different kinds of access journalism. There's content creators who are new to this whole field, and because they want access, they're going to go out there and never ask good questions, and they're usually going to kiss the ass of the coach, and the players, and the program. But then there's also high-level access journalism, which is trying to get scoops. And I do think we have someone locally who practices that in McAkers. And I say names on the air, so come at me. I saw a great takedown, and it's been happening a lot lately with Adam Schefter. Mm-hmm. And now I think this person sort of extrapolated some information that wasn't included, but they talked about the Baker Mayfield deal that Schefter pitched. Well, in an appearance on the McAfee show, Schefter had talked about how the Buccaneers have all the leverage. And what he didn't point out was that Baker Mayfield absolutely cannot be kept by the Buccaneers. And if they want to keep him, they have to renegotiate a deal because of the 3 void years. If they actually gave him a franchise tag, right, and he got like $47 million, the cap number would be his void number plus the franchise tag number, which is $77 million. The whole point was Schefter has a history of being very organization-friendly. Mm-hmm. And why is that?
Well, because that's where he gets his access.
That's where he gets his scoops.
Yep.
And I'm seeing a guy in college football. Listen, I'm not a bootlicker. And I try to cover it 50-50. I'll admit I actually skew more towards the players. But in the case of this Josh Pate guy, who you're going to get more and more exposure to, he is a bootlicker. He is a coach guy. So is John Rothstein. Mm-hmm. And it's for you to judge when you digest media where people are if their stuff is agenda-driven.
Right.
I don't get this whole... Even if you're close to a program, I don't get this whole I'm not going to cover both sides of the story. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Mm-hmm. And you saw it the other day. Let me get your reaction. So we played some audio yesterday. I was asking Dan Mullen about the Memphis quarterback battle, Aaron Noland and Marcus Stokes. Hey, coach, their coach isn't going to announce who the starter is going to be until the day of the game. What do you think about that? There's a purpose to my question. Like, I know it can be viewed as a dopey question. Mullen starts to look around, and he's answering it. And basically, his answer is like, I would do the same thing. He should do that. And someone else in the media starts answering the question with him. And I looked at the person, and I did what I do in studio a lot of times. Like, I'll admit, I'm not the most delicate in these situations, and I put up a stop sign. And I was like, hey, well, no. Mm-hmm. Was that the wrong approach?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
I'm not there. Like, I have a relationship with coaches and players. I'm not there to be their friend because eventually we're not going to be friends because you're going to have to tell the truth about something, right? If they move on, you give an opinion, they get fired. It's like we're not here to be friends. So being all chummy and answering the question that another media person is asking, what are you doing?
Well, that to me is just
we got to pal up with the coach that much. Like he's going to remember that,
right? Well, I mean, outside of just the aspect of trying to pal up with the coach, I just think that it's look. We know what the decorum is in scrums like that. You're going to hear some maybe if you personally just don't even agree with the question, you don't comment on it or anything like that. You're not asked the question. You're not being covered. That's not the way these things work, and that's how it should go.
I don't get it.
So to offer your own commentary on a question, when I'll say this because I'll say it about myself. We, as the media, don't ask the greatest questions all the time. We're not all batting 1,000. Huh. So if you're ever in a situation where you ask a stupid question, which I'm sure, again, because all of us do it, you will, you would not want someone to commentate on your own question. So why offer it? I think that's just the basic aspect of this job.
Big story today at number one, but we'll get to it in a little while later in the show, is UNLV has added another player to their basketball roster. And you and I are going to talk about the football roster is expanding and expanding.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, rolling towards the halfway point of Cofield and Company here on a Tuesday. John Von Tobel is here. James, Steve Cofield. Kind of a lousy week for death, celebrity, and otherwise. And I had someone close to me pass away, and then I'm always blown away if someone has, like, they lay down a real legacy, and you see all these great messages. So I had a guy that I was one of the first guys I worked for in the business, Greg Tafaro, pass away, and I was like, oh my God, look at how much people love this guy, how much he helped people in journalism. And oftentimes when people pass away at the celebrity level, I don't really process immediately like what the impact was. I'm well aware of who Tommy John is. I'm well aware of Tommy John surgery, but there was so much stuff that came out the last couple of days on Tommy John. And Ray Kluever's a guy who follows baseball as closely as anyone, was an umpire for a long time. And Ray, before we get to all the nitty-gritty of sports gambling, Ray's coming up here in a couple minutes. You're young, so I don't know, outside of what? The Tommy John surgery, how much do you know about Tommy John?
Nothing.
Right? Was a guy who kind of had to be reborn with this revolutionary surgery. I mean, hell, I even saw one of my friends, Brandon Tierney, who does radio in New York. He had surgery on his elbow, and he was like, thanks for allowing me to have my baseball career go on. I'm like, oh, my God. I didn't think of everyone who's ever gotten it.
Yeah.
Probably owes him a little bit that he took the chance. Ray Kluever's with us. I know Ray has some good thoughts about Tommy John, who just passed away. What's up, Ray?
Hey, how we doing, guys? Good to talk to you.
Yeah, give us your recollection of who Tommy John was and if you had any contact with him.
Well, let me tell you, I got a good Tommy John story. 1989, I was working American League spring training, and I was stationed in Fort Lauderdale, and it was my first time behind the plate. I went to Fort Lauderdale where the Yankees played, and I showed up early because I was working with 3 veteran American League umpires that day, and I was behind the plate, and I walked in the umpire's room, and I was the first one there. And there was a guy sitting in the umpire's room, and I said, am I in the wrong room? And he goes, oh, no, you must be Ray. Have a seat. I just always come over to the umpire's room, and he introduced himself, and it was Tommy John. And so we talked a little bit, and then I was working with Steve Palermo, Al Clark, and the late, great Kenny Kaiser. And they walked in the room, and they walked in like Tommy was one of the umpires and just, hey, how you doing, Tommy? What's going on? So we get out on the field, and I turned to Palermo, and I said, hey, Stevie, what's the deal with Tommy John? And he goes, oh, he comes in the umpire's room every game. He says he doesn't like talking to the players. He just loves being around the umpires and having real talk. And he would talk about restaurants and what bottle of wine was hot and, how he was doing. And he tells the joke all the time about when Dr. Frank Jobe performed the first ever Tommy John surgery. Before he put him under, Tommy said, can you give me a Koufax fastball? And later on he said, Dr. Jobe misunderstood me because he gave me Mrs. Koufax's fastball. Well, it turns out I got the news on Sunday. I'm in California right now, and I got the news on the way down that he had passed away, and I literally had tears running down my face. I got to know him very well through the spring that year, and he was absolutely one of the best people. Not only was he a terrific baseball pitcher, 288 wins, 26 seasons, not in the Hall of Fame, and if for nothing else, for the Tommy John surgery, should be in the Hall of Fame. Everybody knows what it is, how many careers it saved. But he not only was a great pitcher, but he was absolutely a great person. Every player I came across in my career, somebody had something bad or something good to say about him. With Tommy John, I swear I never heard a bad thing about him. Absolutely a terrific person. May he rest in peace. And I'll never forget that day walking in the locker room, and it was just me and Tommy John, and he was just sitting there like it was one of the guys.
Ray Kluever's with us. William Hill, he's an odds maker with William Hill, joins us every Tuesday. Talking some odds. I like looking up the odds after something like the AP Top 25 rankings come out. Give me your reaction to the AP poll and any significance that it does have.
Well, first of all, I always have a problem with preseason polls because if you're not listed there, the uphill battle that you have to go through to get into the top 10 or 12 to make the playoffs is almost insurmountable unless you run the table. Everything's based on these polls, and teams play late at night, and they can't tell me that all these voters are seeing these teams play. Now, on a side note, in the last 22 years, 21 of the number one ranked teams did not win the title. So, in other words, you can eliminate Ohio State, as I'm sitting here looking at the top 25 AP poll. Ohio State is the number one team in the country, and if you look at their schedule, we were sitting around work the other day, and we all made our bold predictions. And one of the guys says, my bold prediction is Ohio State doesn't make the playoffs. And you know what? That's not far-fetched if you look at their schedule. They go to Texas. They go to Indiana. They play Oregon at home. Their schedule is really a killer. And if they get upset somewhere along the way, they do go to Iowa. If they got upset, and don't even mention the Ohio State-Michigan game at the end of the year, obviously they're going to be heavily favored in that. But if they get upset along the way, an 8-4 Ohio State team does not make the playoffs, and it's only plus 260 that they don't. So the fact, I don't know. My bold prediction was Indiana runs it back again. They win it all again. I think their roster's better this year. They're ranked 6th. You're telling me they're not one of the 5 best teams in the country? Oregon, number 2. We've all seen the act before. I love Dan Lanning, but somewhere along the way they're going to trip up. Georgia, Notre Dame should go 12-0 with the schedule that they got, but if they go 11-1, they'll lose probably home field advantage in the playoffs. I'm just not a big fan of the early AP poll. I don't know. How do you guys feel about everything with the top 10 in college football?
I think generally you're right when it comes to the rankings. They do set a precedent that is hard to kind of break from, and they like to say that the CFP rankings are different, but they don't. They still build on what the AP poll had but prior to it. So it's somewhat difficult, which is why you see certain teams and certain conferences not have these preseason rankings anymore because they don't want the preconceived notions, but it's a little difficult. But you mentioned being a big fan of things. It does seem that NFL preseason bettors are a big fan of this. How has that looked over there?
Oh, my God. It really, I mean, this isn't just us. I've read articles after articles that the preseason NFL football is surpassing the NBA playoffs. Wow. That, to me, is a bit mind-boggling, but I see the bets on a daily basis, and I have to agree that they just never stop. People love football. They love betting on it. Doesn't matter who's starting, who's playing. They're just going to bet on it. I mean, let's face it, the Jets went from a 1.5-point underdog last week to a 6-point favorite. Yep. That takes a lot of action to move a game 7.5 points. I know it's the preseason, so we're more aggressive in moves, but you'll never see that during the regular season. You might see a 1.5, maybe 2. Injury news might go 4, unless it's a Mahomes or some top quarterback. Josh Allen getting hurt, then it'd be 7 or 8. But, I mean, in all honesty, the action, everybody wants to talk football. Everybody.
Well, it's a good point you bring up that Jets game because it might have moved that way, and then they lost 24-16. These line moves have not been very accurate. I would assume that you guys are enjoying it because you made a killing in the first week of the preseason.
Yes, we are.
You can pat yourself on the back. You're rolling in the dough, Ray.
But
everyone gets a new Cadillac.
There's no doubt that we like it, but the whole thing is if people would understand to have faith in the market, but have faith in the bookmakers too. Yeah. I mean, we're not like, we don't just pick a number and throw darts against a wall and come up with a line. I mean, there's a lot of research and a lot of analytics and a lot of people that are involved in coming up with these lines. When a line moves that far, you have to go, okay, now wait a minute. The books had this as a 1.5-point dog on the Jets. Now it's 6 points. Who do I want to side with? The market movers in an early preseason or the books who set the line originally? I don't know. It kind of bugs me when I see people doing that. There are guys who make a living just going off the opening line and the line moves and going against them. So I'm not saying that's a surefire system, and you know, there won't be many Cadillacs going around if everybody followed that. I'll put it that way.
30 seconds left, Ray. Are you getting any kind of swift action on Raiders and Texans? Texans right now in the preseason in this game on Thursday, 1.5.
Not so much, but I did want to ask both of you a question quickly on the Raiders. How many games do you really think that Cousins is going to start based on their schedule? And I'm going somewhere with this, and I'll be as quick as possible.
I say at least 6 or 7, and if they're a disaster, then they'll pull the plug. But I think if they're okay, that Mendoza doesn't play until week 9.
Okay, if they're 2-5 after 7 games, that means Mendoza would play 10 games, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. His over/under is 2,200 yards passing. That's 220 a game. I'm just wondering if the line hasn't dropped too much, that now isn't the time to bet over on Fernando Mendoza.
Fernando Mania. People are getting it. Fernando Mania. Ray, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Tuesday. See you, buddy.
Have a great week, guys. Good talking to you.
Pro Pick'em contest is open. The William Hill Pro Pick'em football contest is available. No spreads, no guesswork. You just pick the winners. Take your shot at a share of over $1.2 million in cash prizes. For just $25, you're instantly in the game, competing every week for your share of $10,000 in weekly payouts. And if you crush the numbers, there's a mega bonus of $1 million if you go over 215 wins. Don't wait. Register now. Get out to your William Hill book and sign up before September 13th.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Each day at this time, we do our A's Spotlight. You can hear all the games on radio right here on the LV Sports Network. For the A's, 4:40 start with Perkins and Lynch going at it in Kansas City. Game 2 of the series last night. Another one of those games for Mason Barnett. Did not pitch well. This part of the show is brought to you by our friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, 6020 West Flamingo. You know them as the home of the best value steak in town. $22 on the garlic marinated bistro filet, or $22 on the 1-pound ribeye with the sides, the fixins. You're all set there, and Chef Lonnie's in there hand cutting the steaks each morning. So, a national reputation Jackson has as a top 7 value steak under $30, according to Tasting Table. And now they've got a limited time menu that includes a grilled chicken Caesar salad. They've added street tacos to the menu, sandwiches that include pulled pork and chicken club. They've got a grilled chicken plate and then a broken leg of lamb. And as they describe it in the Rodney Dangerfield style, I'll tell you, my neighborhood is tough. I didn't do a good Rodney there, but so limited time menu at Jackson's Bar and Grill. They keep adding things, and go in and check out the dessert board. 24/7 happy hour, great breakfast as well. It's Jackson's at Flamingo and Jones. You know, during the breaks, I will look up at our TVs that have sports on, and I'll see the ticker on the bottom, and we've got MLB Network on, and it was just like A's injury, A's sent down, A's injury, A's. I'm like, come on. Barnett got sent down, and now Soderstrom, hip, he's Dunsky. It's just a freaking match unit. And I don't blame them for shutting things down. Mm-hmm. You can sort of benefit from this, certainly in the draft. By the way, if you'd like to be critical on the A's, go ahead and do so, John, because I was talking about access journalism. I was thinking about the way some people in the media in town kiss the ass of the A's. We run the games. We don't get calls if we get into them a little bit. Now, what we don't do here is I'm not mother blanking John Fisher. Like, it's not getting personal. But these organizations most of them don't give a rat's ass if you say something critical. And how could you not have some critique of what the A's have done? They've fallen apart here. They're, 49-76? They just fired the GM. Yeah. Well, mutual parting of the ways.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, and if the criticism is based in facts and reality, then you have no choice but to accept it. And let's be honest, this season has been a nightmare from an injury and availability standpoint at many different positions. The downfall started before the injuries really started to take place. So that's part of what this is. They deserve some criticism for that. But it's hard, and there's a fine balance for a team like this where you're watching and you're going, all right, like you said, it's beneficial from a draft standpoint, and it's beneficial as well to an extent to watch some guys go out there and maybe try. But there's a fine balance to that, and watching a Mason Barnett go out there and just get knocked around and have his entire persona and his spirit just get crushed start after start after start, and just being like, all right, there's a difference between taking your lumps and just being beaten, and let's just send you back down to see if you can get some of that confidence back.
The experiment as a starter did not work. I don't know if that's the end of it, but that guy's got stuff on top of stuff. He should be a decent reliever, so we'll see if they can get him right before the end of the season. What happened with the Field of Dreams game? I saw some mocking. The shoeless Joe Jackson thing and then whatever, going back to the movie and FanDuel and DraftKings up on the wall. I don't care. I saw those visuals. Like, look at this.
I didn't see any of that.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw
one of the things that came out of the game. What happened?
So the viewership was pretty down here, and this was the debut.
By the way,
on
where
Netflix.
was it on?
Yeah.
When was it? I mean, again, baseball's marketing sometimes.
It was on Netflix. They only averaged 1.66 million viewers, so not particularly great. Here's the thing: if you build it, they will come. That's a good reference, right? NFL does fine on Netflix, and I'm not comparing Major League Baseball to Major League to the NFL, but the whole point is if people want to watch it, they'll find it. I think there's a couple of things. First off, Phillies and Twins, that's a weird pairing. Who cares about that? There's nothing really there. And also, I'm sorry, man, it's 2026. Can we stop? This is baseball's biggest fault. Mm-hmm. Who cares about Field of Dreams? Yeah. Who cares? Why is this still a thing? Why are you still trying to do this?
You hated Rocky. I can't imagine you like Field of Dreams.
You
don't have a sentimental bone in your body. We got to take a time out. We'll build on this with John.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, rolling towards 5 o'clock hour. We got more updates on crazy college basketball moves with the 5-5 thing and the court system seemingly suggesting that everyone who is a 5-5 22er is eligible to play college hoops. So it's going to be a lot of schools scooping guys up. UNLV did today, but we'll get back to that in about 10 minutes. It is our ESPN Reno Hour. It's brought to you by Battleborn Injury Lawyer. 766-1400 is a call from anywhere in the state of Nevada number. Let's go down to Southern California, where we always check in with dudes from the Sporting Tribune. John Browner is one of those guys. John, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. You got to jump in on the conversation here because as an old man, I kind of understand what John Von Tobel was just saying, but you're in the same age bracket as John. John, explain baseball's failures to move out of the ancient times and their insistence on playing this Field of Dreams game, which apparently turned out to be a ratings flop.
Yeah, John, so most recently they just had the Netflix special game between the Phillies and the Twins where it was a Field of Dreams-themed game. They played in the cornfields of, Dyersfield, Iowa, or whatever the hell it's called. And only 1.6 million people watched. And my whole thing is baseball continues to shoot itself in the foot by appealing to 70-plus-year-olds. And instead of trying to get some of the young audience to care, if you're 23, why do you care about a movie with Kevin Costner that came out 20 years before you were born?
The best part about the Field of Dreams game was Tim Anderson. That was the highlight of his career, and that was the last time this thing was important. I don't understand the reach for nostalgia consistently by the people who run baseball. Of all the games, the one thing I will give baseball credit for, if they've been the quickest on their feet to move with the pitch clock, to move with the strike zone as of late, and instead of capitalizing on that, they're trying to force feed people who are actually being force fed in nursing homes to keep up with these traditions. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I think that the idea of them trying to constantly, hang on to the past is really hurting their future. Like, no one cares about the Field of Dreams game unless you were one of the people that were alive when it came out in theaters.
I'm with you. It seems like it's one step forward, two steps back. To your point, it's a very good. Baseball deserves credit for moving forward with the strikes, the ability to challenge balls and strikes, and the pitch clock, and more people are watching because of it. But then it's like, you know what? No, then we got to get back. We got to get these 80-year-olds back because they're angry about this thing. It's absolutely insane to me that they continue to do this. And look at the NBA. People criticize Silver for a lot of different things, and he deserves it. But, John, he at least tries different things, and he wants to see what sticks and what doesn't. And some of these things have sticked. The play-in tournament has stuck, and has looked pretty good. And some of the things that they have tried have worked out to get in new audiences.
If the NBA is practicing, if we're going to fail fast. Yep. That's one thing I learned in business. If you're going to fail fast and then move on to the next thing. And the NBA does that. Baseball, I don't know how many swings and misses, ironically, that they want to take with this Field of Dreams thing. But hopefully this is a lesson to Rob Manfred and the people who are in power to move along, man. Move along. And I would include the All-Star Game festivities that they have, too. The Home Run Derby it's over. It's goes by the way of the dunk contest. You don't need these things anymore. And the players don't appear to care about them. So why do you keep dragging us, the fan, through the mud with these things? It just doesn't make any sense.
People in my age group and older love sports movies like Rocky and Field of Dreams. Von Tobel across the way doesn't like either. He got a rash of crap and basically.
Well, to be fair, I haven't seen Field of Dreams, so I have no.
Oh, you haven't?
No, well, of course not. Why would I have watched that?
Because it's an all-time sports classic.
I'll take your word for it.
Browner?
If Rocky's a classic to you, are you going to watch the Rocky new movie that is about the story of Rocky making the movie Rocky, if you can follow?
I will watch. Von Tobel went on just a tirade a couple weeks ago and then got blistered by guys my age who were hurling insults left and right at him.
John, I'll just say this. I tweeted out, because that exact movie you're talking about, I retweeted the trailer, and I'm paraphrasing. I said, oh, wow, they're making a bad movie about making a bad movie. I'm out. I'm not going to watch this. Rocky sucks. I hated the first Rocky movie.
And guys get so bent out of shape. I mean, it's unbelievable. The emotional core struck.
Bro, the first Rocky doesn't hold up. I'm sorry. I got to agree.
Thank you.
The first Rocky does not hold up over time. Now, the Rocky with the Russian in it,
Rocky
that's
4.
timeless.
It is timeless.
That's a great movie. That's one of the greatest sports movies of all time. Rocky 2 is pretty good, too. But Rocky 1 does not hold up, man. If you try to watch Rocky 1 right now, you will fall asleep.
What's more? No, I was just trying to think.
Distracted.
What's more intense in terms of hatred? John Von Tobel with Rocky or the Bus Boys with Genie? Because this has gotten. I mean, I knew they had problems. Holy crap, John! What is going on with the buses?
I talked about this earlier on my show today. I used to fight with my sister in house like strangers. You would think I was 12, and at the time all these fights happened, she was 17, and we would brawl. You know, no weight class. No, nothing. We going at it until mom comes home. The Lakers children, the bus children, didn't learn you don't fight outside the house. Like, this is pathetic. This is utterly pathetic. And this is just the boys getting revenge because Jeannie found a way to boot them and take control of the franchise again. The 18% that they own, which gives her the ability to be the governor, the boys want to hurt her by losing that. This provision in the sale of Mark Walters, who, by the way, at some point we'll get to that, but the Mark Walters portion of this is what brought this back up. When the team was sold to Mark Walters, there was a stipulation in the contract that if he sells, they have the opportunity to piggyback on the sale. And that's what they're doing. And I don't think it's about money. I think they hate her. I think they genuinely hate their sister because of what she did to them, and now they're trying to get payback because of that.
Have you talked to a Lakers fan who actually sides with the boys?
I have not talked to a single solitary Laker fan that cares about this at all. They're more concerned about, the snow time version of the Lakers, not what's happening on the Real Housewife of the Lakers. Like this, I understand why Jeannie's hanging on to this, to be perfectly honest with you. If Jeannie loses this, I think Jeannie loses her sense of worth in Los Angeles. She never produced any movies. She doesn't have any outside business like most of these people who now own NBA teams. They own multiple things, so they have another thing they can focus on. The Buss family has been the Lakers, and the Lakers has been the Buss family for longer than I've been alive. And now that's about to go away because she's going to lose this case. Regardless of what she says, it's going to go to arbitration, and they're going to say, yeah, we might have messed up, but you sold the team to somebody who bought the team with stolen money. That's far worse than us drafting Lonzo Ball.
Speaking of the construction of the Snowtime Lakers, is the constructor, Rob Pelinka, desperately hoping that Jeannie Buss sticks around so he is not out of a job?
Oh, buddy, he's fired. He's fired. He's fired. The second that this thing changed hands and Mark Walters turns it over to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner, and they gave Jeannie Buss the wink, wink, nod, that, yeah, you can keep the role. Bob Iger's exact words were, if anything changes. Mm-hmm. Now, that could be the weather. That could be the day. That could be the time. That could be anything. It was so vague when he made this announcement, like, oh, yeah, that's if nothing changes, yeah, that's fine. And guess what changed? They drug their business out in public. All this is just silly. Rob Pelinka is going to go by the wayside because I think Snowtime's going to fail. It's going to get hot and Snowtime's going to melt right up, somewhere in on the beach somewhere in Santa Monica, and this thing will be over with.
He's up on socials at Browner's podcast on Twitter, John Browner Podcast on IG. You threw out the line about Mark Walter and stolen money. Is anyone going to bring up the fact that Adam Silver right now seems to be in a period of weakness? And I'm not saying that he has the final say on selling a team, but as they finalize this thing, if I'm correct, the feds were like raiding the guy's plane and taking his laptop and phone. Should someone have put a stop to this a while back?
How could he? How could he? Mark Walters came in the NBA and was already one of the more richer owners that they have. Yeah. So Adam Silver works for the owners. They really have all the power. They tell him what to do. They just do it as a collective group. And Mark Walters was a liked guy around much of the circles. They sold the team, which felt like insider trading to me, but I'm not a stock guy. But they sold the team to somebody who was already in a pipeline to buy the Vegas team. So if you're asking me, Vegas dodged a bullet by having these Bob Iger and Josh Kushner take over the Lakers, because I think what's happening to Mark Walters will happen to a lot of other owners in professional sports. Because if you remember about a decade ago, guys like Mark Walters start buying a lot of sports teams. And they were all, in my opinion, allegedly, all kind of stringing this money together in the same way that Mark Walters was. And I think this is going to come to light on a lot of these teams, depending on how Mark Walters, gets prosecuted.
Right. Well, I've been saying it all along, story going back months and months and months. Like, we have to be, not that we have a say in it, but we have to be very careful in Vegas which billionaire, which private equity, which mysterious billionaire buys our NBA club, because you don't want an owner who doesn't care, and certainly one who's going to be in financial trouble. So I hadn't thought of that, but maybe we did dodge a bullet avoiding Iger.
You dodged 2 bullets, by the way. You dodged 2 bullets because Marion Adelson bought the Dallas Mavericks. You also did not want her owning the team either. So, I know she – yeah.
No, go ahead. You can finish.
No, I know that she's got a lot of, property and business in Vegas, but look at what's happened to the Dallas Mavericks since she's took over. Mm-hmm. You have to be honest with what has happened to that organization since that family took over. It's going completely down the tubes, and Mark Cuban had that thing running like a fine-tuned machine. So there's a lot of politics in NBA ownership, and we're just seeing behind the curtain, whether it be the Clippers or whether it be the Lakers or whether it be the Mavericks.
In your neck of the woods in the NFL, did the Chargers blow it here by not bringing back old man Keenan Allen at 35 years old? He was pretty good last year, and he was a safety blanket with 81 catches for Herbert.
Nah, man, that offense finna look something similar to what you see in San Francisco. It's finna look similar to what you see already in Los Angeles, but on the other side of town with the Rams. Keenan Allen's ability to catch on third down is he's one of the best to do it, but also his time is over. Keenan Allen has been a great player for the San Diego Chargers and then for the Los Angeles Chargers. His number should be talked about going up in a Ring of Honor. I just don't know if he and what he can offer the team now is worth much of anything with now the way that the offense is being ran.
Last one, less than a minute left. A lot of us are watching because it's a crazy battle. Shedeur and Deshaun go at it for the Browns starting quarterback job. Where are you?
Listen, I'm just glad Kevin Stefanski's gone and everybody gets the first shot. Whoever wins. I think any snap that you give Deshaun Watson is a waste of time, and you're just trying to prove that you didn't sink a $200 million contract into him. You have all these picks next year. The best thing that you can do is see if Shedeur can actually play. And if he can, then you use those picks to make a haul of picks like we've never seen. But they're the Browns, and they're not going to do that. Deshaun Watson is going to win the job, and then it's all going to blow up in their face.
John, 20 seconds left. Tell people in Vegas who already know about Sporting Tribune, but what you guys are doing with Sporting Trib Live on radio and the web.
Sporting Trib Live is on every night on YouTube as of right now. We're on in Hawaii. We've got a lot of stations, and we're also starting a podcast network, visual and downloadable, so you'll be able to hear from a lot of the young guys that we're grooming, and we got talent coming, and we can't wait for you guys to hear it.
John, you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
There he is, John Browner, covering things in Southern California. We check in with the Sporting Trib folks a couple times a week. Of course, our buddy Arash Markazi is on Wednesdays. All right, big news around UNLV basketball, adding a player. Big news around New Mexico football, one of the chief rivals of UNLV. And more Keenan Allen, the Colts. What a freaking signing, Keenan Allen.
Live from the Findlay Toyota Studios, It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Lots of NFL to get to this hour. We're going to check in H-Town, Houston. Brandy Flores, LVSN reporter, was out at the joint practice today. We'll be out there for the preseason game on Thursday, Raiders and Texans. A lot of storylines. Fernando Mania going down in the national media. People wondering, when is he going to play? They have a plan. We're going to get into the plan again, repeat the plan again so that you understand it. John Von Tobel across the way. It's Cofield. I'll come out with an NFL nugget because we just mentioned it, and I wanted to build on it. I think Keenan Allen is a good signing for a Colts team that's a little beat up at wide receiver.
Nah.
Now, will he do the same thing that he did last year where he had 81 catches? Probably not. I mean, I would say the biggest challenge now is making sure that he can stay upright for 12 to 14 games. But as a stopgap, like, what's the latest with Pierce?
Oh, he's still hurt. He's not available. Yeah.
Not the same player either. I'm not saying they are.
No, of course. No, look, the lack of excitement that you hear from me is mainly just the referendum on where the Colts are at as a team with their wide receiver room. You've probably looked this up, but outside of Alec Pierce, can you name another Colts wide receiver? You driving, you listening, can you name anybody? At this time last year, you were going into a season with A.D. Mitchell, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, and Josh Downs as your top four with Tyler Warren. Now, with Pierce currently sidelined, you have Keenan Allen, who you just signed on August 18th, Josh Downs, Ashton Doolin, Nick Westbrook-Ikine, Anthony Gould, Laquan Treadwell, anybody still in the league? Like, this is not a good wide receiver room at all. And so they have let this position group deteriorate over the course of a calendar year to the point where on August 18th, they're like, holy smokes, let's go get Keenan Allen and hope he can offer us something. Because here's the thing, and I'll tie this into Zadarius Smith, who got signed today too by the Atlanta Falcons, edge rusher. These are guys that had good careers. These are also guys that are available on August 18th for a reason.
I assume Keenan Allen was just waiting, that he had an agreement with the Chargers. He was just waiting around and like, yeah, I'll come in, last week at training camp. I figured that was cinched, but apparently not.
I just think it's more of, and here's like, I don't know, man. Putting a lot of eggs in the basket of Pierce is going to be pretty interesting too. Because like you said, Pierce is a pretty big, deep threat. He has a lot of gravity. And even with Keenan Allen, he might help a little bit, but not a lot. Why do you keep doing the look up and down things?
Did you say Laquan Treadwell?
Laquan Treadwell.
So my recollection recently of Treadwell is I think we got to speak to him at one of the Super Bowls either here or in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Really smart dude. Like, has a bright future. I can't remember what he was doing, but I guess it didn't. The impact wasn't that great. But I was like, nice guy, Yep. And I thought to myself, like, yeah, sorry it didn't work out. Former first-round pick. He was a freaking monster at Ole Miss.
What was the last season he played, Steve?
Yeah, that's why I started looking up and down. I'm like, wait, what? He played in 2023?
Yeah, how many games?
5.
Yep. He had 1
2022, 6. 12 in 2021. COVID year, 5.
So put it this way.
Holy crap.
Since 2022,
yeah, I guess
he's had 7 receptions in the NFL. And he's had 2 seasons off. And he's on the Colts roster right now. Now, granted, will he make the team? I don't know. But the fact that you're giving some run to Laquan Treadwell speaks to where you have allowed this position group to get to.
What happened to them?
Like I said,
how did the wide receiver plan go so awry?
Well, that's what I'm saying is I just don't understand why they let it get to that point, right? I mean, okay, trade a couple first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell, who is like kind of a knucklehead, has got some bricks for hands at times. Like, you don't really know. Okay, whatever. I thought A.D. Mitchell was actually going to be pretty good. Had some really good moments. We'll see what happens. So you go and get Sauce Gardner. But then you let Pittman walk, and then you don't really address it in the draft, and then you're just sitting back and going, man, what happened here? This is crazy. It's just poor management by their part and by Chris Ballard, shockingly enough.
So if you missed yesterday's show in I think it was 5 o'clock hour, we talked to Josh Pastner, UNLV's head coach. Very enthusiastic, excited about what is essentially a 21-game home game slate in Vegas, including the Players era. Buy tickets, buy tickets, buy tickets. That was his message. But we did get into the whole, hey, what's the roster going to look like, which is crazy on August 18th. They have their team meeting coming up on Sunday. And Pastner said because of all these court cases and all this 5-5 stuff that, yeah, we're still looking. He said Alan Breed, who they thought was in the fold, has challenged the NCAA on his eligibility, said it's not looking good. So if Breed's not here, we may have 2 more spots. And he said, we are looking. And then I brought up Jaden Henley, former UNLVer under Kruger, went back to Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon is the favorite now to win the conference. And he fired back's not the right thing, but he said, if Jaden Henley's allowed to play, he's like, right now, we don't know what's happening.
Sorry to interrupt. Henley is officially back? He went back to Grand Canyon?
He's going to Grand Canyon. It was announced yesterday that he's back.
Missed that. All right.
And I saw some of the people who cover Grand Canyon said the teammates very much welcomed that with open arms. So apparently UNLV has added A.J. Storr. Nice. He's got quite the history. He's been a big scorer in 2 stops. He's been in 4 stops before this. They're all high-profile places. He did prep a year at Bishop Gorman. He bounced around even during his prep years. So this will be 5 schools in 5 years, and last year he averaged 15.5 points a game. 6'5" wing. He was at Ole Miss. I think this one's really interesting because I wonder how teammates react. They have a lot of guards.
Yeah, they do.
And I still think they need another big, and they need at least someone who's 6'6" or bigger, and if they're 6'6" or 6'7", they got to be burly, a thickie. They have a lot of guys who can handle the ball on the outside. They have a lot of outside players. Keep in mind, their best player, arguably, it's not Sebastian Mack or maybe A.J. Storr. Their best player is Tyron Jones, who's also a face-the-basket big man, who a lot of times this is not ripping on him because it actually works. The play is, here, Tyron, take the ball at 17. Go take your big on the run and see if you can keep up. And a lot of people couldn't keep up. This is a very interesting move from a roster building standpoint. They have a lot of guards, and I wonder if everyone is open to this.
I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's an old viral meme, but it's a video of a pizza getting cut, right? And the guy's like, okay, cool, and it gets cut into quarters and then into eighths, and then like at some point it's like into like 30 seconds. And you're like, it's enough slices, right? Yeah. It's the same thing here. It's like, all right, it's enough guards. Like, we've got a ton here. What else is going to happen with this roster? How many guys are you going to add here? Because you saw last year, you did get to a point from a guard standpoint where, right, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn had a lot on his plate, and you needed some other help.
They had no guards.
Right. So,
I almost feel like these are the battle scars where Josh Pastner's like, more and more and more and more and more. I need guards.
But I'm with you.
I mean, A.J. Storr is going to be playing. They're going to have several 6'5" guys who at times are going to be playing in a small lineup, and they'll be playing the 4. It doesn't mean they're going to be, a rebounder like a 4, but they're going to go small and try to run people out of the freaking gym. So from that standpoint, and Storr can score. But Pastner's got to keep everyone happy, which will be really interesting. Now, this is something I heard that I thought that hit me today with the addition of A.J. Storr. There are a lot of fans out there, and even Pastner addressed it with us. There are a lot of fans out there who keep saying, hey, what about Howie Fleming? What about Kamani Hamilton? They're 5-5 guys. They want to play more college basketball. And I've had at least one source tell me they got the chemistry and attitude right now with this roster. Because, frankly, and I probably said it on the air a couple times, last year there was kind of a divisive group of guys who were good players, but there were times where you're like, guys, are you out for yourself and playing time, or are you out for the team? And I thought the Fresno game is a perfect example. That game up there, out there, whatever it was, double overtime. Yep. I mean, the whole team fouls out. It's just like no one can keep it together. Yep. Even DGL, who was awesome, he's nearly getting a tech on the bench. They kind of all got suckered by that little guy, Robert is his name, a 6'2" guard, Frenchman, French. And that was a good example. There was also the game where before the half, they're really thin in terms of availability, and Josh Pastner looks down the bench, and he's like, hey, Jacob Benarby, hey, go in. And Benarby's like, no thanks. Knee hurts. Pastner walks over to me like 2 minutes later at the half, and I was like, hey, do you have Benarby available in the second half? And he's like, Steve, you tell me. I don't know.
Nope.
He just waved me off. I'm like, okay. Those guys they're nice guys.
Yeah.
The guys in that group. But I felt like there was a group of players at times where you're like, guys, between playing basketball smart, not fouling.
They're not fouling is crazy.
And then not, kind of not having your head in the game. Now, I'm not trying to smear the name of A.J. Storr, but he is a very interesting guy in the fact that he's been at 5 places now. I hope it works out. I hope he's eligible. I think Pastner's a good enough coach, and the staff is good enough to make him work. And he certainly has motivation. A lot of these guys have motivation. A lot of the 5 and 5 guys have immense motivation because they saw, hey, the world of pro basketball, it's not going to be an easy entry. And a little bit of scratch here for one more year, like maybe I can better myself. But, I'm excited about the way the group looks.
I'm really excited. Like this should be. I can't wait to start to see this team on a basketball court. I also got to think too, from Storr's standpoint, and a lot of these 5 and 5 guys is a sense of pride, and to the point of there's going to be a lot of people that view you as, oh, you should be done, but if you're going to come back, you better be good.
Yeah.
And so you've got to almost deliver on that. And as you mentioned, he was a 15-point per game scorer. He shot 35% from 3. He should be able to help.
Guards include Dontrez Williams, who is a rising player, spent a couple years at Lindenwood. He averaged 15 points a game. Cam Miles is a high-level recruit who was at Florida State, decided to come to UNLV. Terrence Ford's another guard, more of a true point. He missed last year, but the year before at Tulsa he was very productive, again, as a true point. Freshman guard out of Georgia and then prepped in Southern California. Coda Suttle, they have a lot of high hopes for him. He's a little bigger guy at 6'3". From there, the other guards include Isaac Williamson, who came back. Isaac's one of the guys I think of, he wants to play. Is he going to lose playing time in this case? Jalen Cunningham, of course, is a walk-on. And Sebastian Mack is the other Vegas-tied guy with Jones, with A.J. Storr, who's back and has high hopes as well because he was a pretty high achiever at UCLA, wound up moving on to Missouri, kind of fell out of the rotation. So a lot of guards.
I don't want to read too much into it, but going back to when we talked to Pastner at Summer League, it's the way he talked about Isaac, it sounded like he was a priority to get him back, and so you would assume he's not one of the mouths that's not going to get fed, Williamson?
Well, I think with all of them, here's what this affords, is if you're not going to play D and you're not going to play 100%, or if you're not in shape, then you're not going to play.
Yeah.
So Isaac needed to get in better shape, and when he busted his hump defensively, he can be a real troublemaker, but he's got to do it consistently and can't get beat, gambling, can't get beat on pump and go.
Got to get that VO2 up.
Yep. I know you love the VO2. He also talked about injuries yesterday, which our vast digital crew has to put out a video on that. Tyron Jones is probably not available until second week of October. I don't want to pinpoint. He mentioned October availability, like they're just going to be getting healthy at the beginning of October. So that Utah exhibition game on October 7th will be pretty interesting because Tyler Harris got hurt with his knee, and now I'm blanking on there was a third guy who was kind of key. I'll find it. But maybe that's part of his deal too. He had so many guys hurt last year, he's like, you know what, there's never enough numbers.
Yeah.
And they were shorthanded at least one player. I know he felt like he needed one more player on the roster, so I get the feeling they're going to go out and get someone to play the 4-5, and I'm not saying it's going to be like, a 15-point per game scorer like A.J. Storr, but they're going to go get somebody. And then we'll see what happens with the NCAA.
Well, like the way you said it, I would assume it's also like a bigger, thicker guy to give you some girth down low, whether it's rim protection, rebounding, whatever it is, because they seem to be they're a small and slender team at this point right now.
Yeah, the two bigs they got are space eaters.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that either one is really like a 25-minute-a-night guy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be a lot of lineups with Tyron Jones playing technically the 5, and then the team going like 1,000 miles an hour and attacking the glass and trying to run, which, hey, you want the run of Rebels? That's what he's building.
Yeah.
And they, for the most part, when they didn't have the mental blips, they had some inconsistency. They were a pretty decent defensive team as the season went along. It's good times. UNLV football. So day 18 of practice in the books. We have Gardner ready to go. Yesterday was Special Teams Day. I put together a camp report where I talked about how they got their punter. So that's kind of interesting with the new special teams coach, who's not really new. He got bumped up from analyst to special teams coach in Mitch Singler, and their new punter, Chules, and the whole Aussie pipeline. So a couple days ago, Devin Gardner, the former Michigan quarterback, was out there. He's calling the game with Tim Brando on Fox, and one of the things that he was really impressed with at practice was that Dan Mullen, a guy who you would view as a quick fix guy, John, is actually building with a lot of young players.
Freshman talent that you guys have, it has been really cool to see, because in year two you would think it's still, you go the mercenary route and you get guys that have played a lot of football and can contribute, and they have continued to do that, but the young talent for the future of UNLV, I think, is really good.
So let's build on what you were just talking about with the way UNLV is building the program, because they've had a lot of success winning 30 games for 3 years, but they turned over the roster a lot with, of course, transfer portal. Yep. What do you think about a group of 6 building with a lot of freshmen and big classes? Like, they've got 28 commits this year.
Yeah, I think because of what they were able to accomplish last year, it makes it a lot easier, right? If they hadn't performed so well a season ago, it would make it more difficult to take in such a big freshman class. Right now, when you have that success, you have that foundation laid a lot faster than other teams are able to. Now you can start to build for the future and, still use the transfer portal, but also bring in a bunch of young guys that you think can contribute maybe early, and also that we go for the future.
But it does take some confidence, because when you're bringing young guys at group of 6,
So there you go, Devin Gardner talking about the youth on the roster, and it is one of the interesting things. Again, I was on Memphis radio this morning to do a preview of the game coming up next Saturday, and a question you'll always get about Mullen, and this has got to drive UNLV fans nuts, but how long is he going to stay?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. The way he's building it is really interesting. He doesn't seem like he's quick fix guy.
No.
They took transfers, but they didn't take a ton of transfers, and last year's class for freshmen was 20+. They're letting some freshmen into the 1s and 2s, and this year's commit class is 28.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that UNLV does have, it seems, a larger plan, as we have discussed, in terms of its status in the conference and then maybe in a new one once realignment hits again. So maybe that's part of Mullen's vision as well, sticking around for the step up.
The favorite in the Mountain West Conference, not everywhere, but one of the favorites.
They are now.
New Mexico.
Oh, I talk about UNLV. UNLV is now the favorite.
Did it move today because of more bad news on Jack Lane? How bad was it? He was the returning quarterback, pretty successful last year, came from Idaho with Jason Eck.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the news?
Big Eck asked, any clarity on the timeline? Not close.
Really?
Yep. Now, I think you can make the argument, because they got this logo kid they brought in from Oregon as a 3-star dual threat type, from what I can understand. Think you can make the argument that they're in a decent spot at quarterback, that maybe Lane, who, look, I thought Lane did a very good job last year, but let's not oversell it. He didn't eclipse 3,000 yards. It was a very mundane touchdown to interception ratio, barely 7 yards per attempt. You can find some of that with the rest of your quarterback depth chart if you're New Mexico, but it's not good news for him, that's for sure.
He was, I'll say, tepid in his response to the recent play in a scrimmage of that kid Luke Moga.
Logo.
Yeah, the Oregon Duck transfer. So, but I think that's the way Eck approaches everything. I don't think he's over the top guy.
Well, it's for sure. I think it's all these coaches, right? What did Mullen tell us at practice the other day?
Right.
It was like, I don't. If you want compliments for these quarterbacks, please don't ask me. That made it sound like they were awful. But I think that's just generally how these guys operate.
Do they have problems with their other star player?
That's been a recent development. Jackson Eck, the offspring of Coach Eck, the other day saw a report, not pads, just walked out like an hour after practice started. Well, he missed his second practice consecutively today, Steve. Not great. For the, I believe he was the preseason Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year, was he not?
Yes.
Yep.
I don't know if it was related to Jackson Eck, but New Mexico did add just 2 days ago a Memphis transfer linebacker in Jaden Flaker, who played a bunch at the FCS level.
That's crazy.
He just got a temporary restraining order. Now, this is a little different than UNLV added in the last week Donovan Spellman back to the roster who they had, right, and LaTerrence Welch back to the roster that they had. Like, they understand the system. I thought it was very key, too. I don't know how many other people picked up on this, but Mullen said, I talked to both of them, I'll paraphrase, basically to explain to them, the culture this year is a little bit different. So you're going to have to blend in. So I think he wanted some answers from those guys like, this ain't last year. Mm. And I think that's important to remember. Those guys should blend in seamlessly. They're not guaranteed playing time, but I think they're going to be, at their position, they'll be a top 5 option. Welch, a cornerback, and in the case of Spellman, an edge rusher. These cases are crazy, though. You had a linebacker like 2 weeks before the season. I mean, the player will be ready eventually if he can contribute, but he's not ready at the beginning of the year.
Not ready at the beginning of the year. I mean, I guess this is conspiracy foil or tinfoil conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
This is an NFL transaction.
Right.
This is, one of our linebackers is hurt. Let's go get another one.
Yeah.
Don't you? I mean, seriously, the coincidence there seems a little nutty. That when we find out that Eck is hurt, they just happen to bring in a linebacker transfer. That very much sounds like, we got a body down in camp. Let's go get somebody. It's either to eat reps or, God forbid, Eck has something a little bit more serious than they're letting on.
Coming up next, let's find out what's going on with Fernando Mendoza, what's going on with the rest of the Raiders. Joint practice today. Game coming up, preseason game number 2 on Thursday. We'll go to H-Town and talk to Brandy Flores.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
We'll go down to Houston here in just a second. Joint practice. Just give me the thumbs up when Q's all ready to go. Q Meyer's on the road. JVT's here. John Von Tobel. It's Cofield. 5 o'clock hour. This part of the show is brought to you by our friends at Battleborn Injury Lawyers. 766-1400 is a call from anywhere in the state of Nevada. Number for the fine folks at Battleborn. Justin Watkins, Matt Hoffman. Have you seen their new billboards?
I don't know if they're new. I may see their billboards all the time.
Look around. They took new photos.
I see very serious-looking Justin around the town.
So our vast graphics crew made a graphic earlier, and it was Justin Watkins smiling on the graphic. Mm-hmm. But the ones I've seen, the billboards, he is very serious.
Yes.
There's also something weird about billboards. Do you ever do this? Because so many attorneys have the billboards. Do you ever just stare at a billboard as you're driving and then create the image in your mind that the eyes are following you?
No.
I do that.
You do not do
and
that.
I felt like I was looking at Justin on the sign, and I'm like, man, he's piercing right now.
I'd
want to go to court with him.
I often actually believe that billboards should be done away with because I believe them to be a distraction, because there are times where I will see a billboard and I'll try to read it, and then I'll swerve and be like, oh, wait, I probably shouldn't be reading that billboard.
So Raiders are in practice today against the Texans. What's the outlook on the Texans for you?
Really good team. Best defense in the NFL, without a question. Improved offensive line, which could potentially lead to an offense that is good enough to maybe even win the whole thing.
C.J. Stroud?
I think C.J. Stroud was bad down the stretch last year and in that playoff game, but I think a lot of it, if we're cutting up the pie, pretty good chunk belongs to that offensive line too. Mm-hmm. So if that can be better, I think Stroud can be better, and he doesn't have to be elite because they're so good defensively that can carry a lot of the water. Q
Meyer's with us down in Houston. Q, what's going on, buddy?
Man, how you guys doing? Appreciate y'all having me on.
We're good. John was just giving his assessment of the Texans, a team with an unbelievable defense. The offense just has to be okay. Do you disagree with that? Does the offense have to be very good for them to be a playoff team?
No, not at all. I actually thought they should have been in the Super Bowl last year, but C.J. Stroud, as I continue to say, wet the bed down the stretch, and that was unfortunate for Houston. That Super Bowl caliber defense that they had, I would hate to think when it's all said and done that they actually wasted that defense, right? So it's really going to be important for Houston to take advantage of what they have, who they have, and I like to call them the bloodthirsty Pirates on that defensive line who get after everybody. I mean, they're coming at all different angles, and they can easily win it all, but they have to have their offense just not get in the way. C.J. Stroud's got to really play better than he did down the stretch last year.
So what if we'll call it the test, what have the Raiders done in this test against this Raiders defense, especially on the offensive line, because they got some guard battles, right? How did everything shake out with the pass pro today?
Yeah, I mean, it was shaky. Like I said, man, they came from all directions, right? I think that it was a real eye-opening experience for the Raiders to understand where they were in this rebuild as opposed to a playoff team that has Super Bowl aspirations. The Texans, man, there's going to be guys along that Raiders offensive line that are going to, see Texans in their sleep. They're going to see, Will Anderson. They're going to see Danielle Hunter. They're going to see, look, Sheldon Rankins. I didn't even realize he was still in the league. It's 11 years long he's still in the league. He made a play from that defensive line. Like, they just came from everywhere. Jadeveon Clowney was an extra pickup. They have so many dudes. DeMeco Ryans has set this defense up in such a great way that they could just come in waves. And, the Raiders are experiencing that, and they got their first taste test of it. And no JPJ. He was in street clothes there, so Caleb Rogers got all the reps at the right guard position, which is great for him, but bad for JPJ. And, we'll see where it goes from there. But I think that this Raiders offensive line, even Colton Miller, who's a wily veteran, he, got the experience and felt the wrath of the Texas defensive line. So they understand where they want to go and that it's going to take us a while to get there.
No quarterback likes to deal with pressure, but they will have to deal with it. How did Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza deal with the pressure when it was in front of them?
They dealt with it the best way they could, right? There was times where they did okay. They were able to get the ball out. There was a lot of short stuff, right? Trying to get out the ball out of their hands as quickly as possible. Cousins got picked off. It was a pick six to end the practice today. Lassiter, he got him, and, he's one of the best in the business. And, Kirk Cousins gave the old college try, trying to get him, try to chase him all the way down the field and not allow him to get to the end zone. But Kirk Cousins or Kamari Lassiter, who you think won that race? So, it was just it was not even close. Fernando Mendoza threw a pick six to Jalen Petrie, another one of the best in the business when it comes to the secondary for the Texans. So, and he even talked about it afterwards when he met with us. Like, I tried to fit a puzzle piece into that puzzle that doesn't fit there, and I thought the safety was a little bit deeper. He wasn't. Made a great play on the ball. That's a learning experience for me. So they had moments where they were good. There was a nice pass from Mendoza to Brock Bowers that gets you that, oh, man, yeah, that's what he can do type feel. But as Clint Kubiak said after practice, it's great to have a play here, a play there, a play here, a play there, but you want to have enough plays where you don't remember that one play that stands out. You want to be able to stack them, and the Raiders weren't able to do that today.
Q Myers with us again, Raider Nation Radio, and our boss that we love very much here on Cofield and Company. Love him very much. Probably the best boss I've ever had in my entire life.
This is real access. This is real access journalism that I was talking about earlier. Jeez. All right.
It's funny at that point. Maybe this was asked, maybe it wasn't. But I do wonder, Q, when you're watching the offense take on the defense, is there a point I wonder with these coaches where they go all right, maybe let's stop dialing up the pressure so we can run some stuff and see what our guys can do here.
You know what? I think that Clint Kubiak actually really appreciated it. He took that film and said, okay, we're gonna go back, study it, learn from it. The run game, as he mentioned, wasn't good enough. They weren't able to get anything going. I think that he really understood that this is going to be a great test, because if we can have success against them, we could probably have success against anybody. And the fun fact, and it was funny to talk about it at practice today, the Raiders last year, as bad as they were, and you know how bad they were, the Texans won 13 games. The closest game that they had was last year against the Raiders when they only lost by 2 points, and Genty had his second-best game of his rookie year. It was pretty incredible, and it almost felt like that Texans defense remembered how close the Raiders played them a year ago and was like, hold on, let's turn up the heat a little bit on them, because they were playing really well in their offense. I don't want to take anything away from them. They had some pretty big holes to run through as well, so the offensive line for the Texans was working pretty well against that Raiders defensive line too.
If you go to _Brandy Flores, she's covering the event along with the trip to Houston along with Q Myers. She is our LVSN reporter. She said there were a few kerfuffles between the Raiders' first-team defense and the Texans' first-team offense. Nothing major.
No, it wasn't, and that was one of the goals of Clint Kubiak. He kept saying that he didn't want them to go out there. He mentioned a melee and any kind of recklessness like that, because you don't get any work done. And I've been monitoring, seeing a bunch of different reports from the Cowboys and Saints, and apparently that's all they're doing is fighting. So they had a really good productive day. Darian Porter mixed it up a little bit on special teams. Max Crosby, of course, mixed it up a little bit, but it was nothing that was out of control. It was actually kind of funny when Quay Walker intercepted C.J. Stroud. He spiked it in front of the Texans fans that were out there, and they gave him the business. So he basically let them know that they were number one in return. Yeah. So he had some fun with that, and so that was interesting part of it. But it was pretty controlled as far as the physicality and any kind of fighting that could have happened.
I feel like you mentioned Quay Walker and Kwity Paye. I feel like their signings. And obviously, Nakobe Dean's a little different case, but their signings have been kind of glossed over as big improvements on this defense. How much better can that front seven be?
I think that they could be a lot better because they have difference makers on all levels. But the problem is there are a lot of young guys, and obviously with the addition of Quay and N'Kobe and even Kwity Paye, as you mentioned, those guys are all new too. So they're trying to learn this new system by a new defensive coordinator and Robbie Leonard. And so there's so much that is trying to come together in a short amount of time. There's going to be a lot of breakdowns. And, I mean, look, we saw the Cardinals go 15 for 15 in the first half last week on Thursday, and you can't have that. You got to break up a pass here and there, right? There's got to be some kind of incompletion. They made Gardner Minshew look like Joe Montana, and then you go and see – a day like today in the joint practice where they had a ton of success a couple times, just bad communication. Wide receivers were running wide open. Wheel routes were successful except for the one that Quay Walker intercepted. So I think that the communication is the biggest issue for the Raiders. The athleticism is there, but it's just the communication, understanding where they need to be and when they need to be there is the biggest problem that they're having right now as they're trying to put together this new defense.
Q Myers in Houston on ESPN Las Vegas. What is going on with Jackson Powers Johnson?
Man, your guess is as good as mine. He went down on Monday. He walked off the field with the trainer. He didn't return. He was there today in street clothes, but he's there in street clothes, right? And there's nothing that he's going to be able to do. He's not going to get any kind of burn like that. And so we asked Clint Kubiak after practice if he expects him to play on Thursday, and he said he doesn't expect him to play. He didn't rule him out completely, so if this was the injury report, he'd be doubtful, right? So I think that's really bad for him. He's only played in 23 games so far through 2 seasons in his career, right? I mean, he's going into year 3. There could have been 34 possible games. He's played in 23. So the availability is just not there. That's one of the big issues and knocks on him when he was coming out of college. Why he dropped to the second round is because of availability, and here it is again. So I don't know what they're going to end up doing, the end-all, be-all result, but the more time he misses, the more time that Caleb Rogers is getting time on task and earning that right guard job.
Is JPJ the kind of guy that they'd be fired up to put on the shelf and stash for a while, or could this just end up with, hey, we're going to cut bait, you're not our guy, you weren't our guy, and we're just not seeing it?
I could see them trying to trade him. I mean, I honestly could. If there's a team that needs a guard or needs a center, I still think he's salty that he's not the center. I mean, he's not saying that. He's not acting like that, but I think deep down inside he truly wants to be the center. I think that has something to do with it, but, I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with his availability. And so I could see a world, and Raider fans don't want to hear it. He's like a cult hero for some reason. They don't want to hear that this staff could move on from him, but I honestly think that that's a possibility that they could, if they find a trade partner, decide that, as you mentioned, cut bait, just go ahead and take whatever they can get and move on from him.
I don't get a chance to talk to the Raiders fans, especially on the phones like you do. Why is he a cult hero?
Man, that's a great question because he hasn't really done anything except for, tell the Raiders that he's going to be the starting center when Antonio Pierce was the head coach. When their starting center went down, and he's like, "I'll take over the center. I was a Remington Award winner," and they just like that attitude. I guess they like his kind of nasty that he has. A lot of people when he was drafted kind of compared him to Richie Incognito, and so I think that they kind of like that, and they feel like he's a modern day true Raider from back in the day. But to me, honestly, he hasn't done anything to get super fired up about and act like he's the end-all be-all. But, man, when you say something about JPJ, and if it's not glowing reviews, you're the hater, the guy told me the other day I threw him overboard. You're like, you're throwing him overboard already. Say, I'm not throwing him overboard. I'm just telling you he's not available. He's not available. I mean, I could be a great radio host, but if I'm only available once a week, what good am I?
You do a great job on social media every time asking your audience, the question of the topic of the day. Maybe tomorrow should be, why do you like Jackson Powers Johnson so much? Call in and tell us about it, and I want to find out.
That it's a great question, to be honest.
Brings tears to the eyes.
I'm curious. Special teams is also a pretty big deal. What have we seen from these kickers?
A lot of questions. Matt Gay, the Tokyo Toe. Matt Gay hasn't been really a good kicker in a couple years, but he's back with Jode Camillus, and so they're trying to get, as Matt Gay has said, trying to get him to, get the hit on the ball like he was doing when he was with the Rams and they won the Super Bowl. We'll see if he can get back there. The Tokyo Toe, I think he's destined for the international program. I just don't think he's got it. At first it looked like it was going to be a competition between the two, but he seems like he's just kind of lost his confidence and he's trying to find it again. I don't think he's ready. So, look, I don't know. I'm surprised that Daniel Carlson wasn't brought back, to be honest with you. I know he had a down season for his standards, but I think a lot of that had to do with the process as opposed to just him. But obviously I'm not the special teams guy, so maybe I'm wrong, but they might have to make a decision on the kicker. Their kicker for 2026 might not be in the building right now.
And you think that's what it was? It was, hey, Carlson is not our guy, so we're going to bring in some of our guys or our guy, and he can move on?
I guess, but he doesn't have a job right now.
Yeah.
You know, that to me, that surprises me because I do believe he's a good kicker. I think that the snap was bad last year. The protection was bad last year. The hold was good. A.J. Cole does a good job there, but it just seemed like the whole process, and I guess Adam Hill, your guy, would be better at this than I would on it, but it just didn't seem like things were very good mechanically to help him out. I feel like that they let him down as much as he may have missed a kick here or there.
Hey, Q, before we let you go, set the scene. I guess we should have done this at the beginning. Set the scene. Where was everything held today?
Yeah, today was at the NRG Stadium, or I guess it's back to being Reliant Stadium again. It was outside. I'm at the Airbnb that's about 3 or 4 minutes away from the stadium, so it's pretty cool to just be as close as I am. And it was, man, I'll tell you, we're hot in Vegas, you know that. But the minute that I stepped outside, my face just turned wet. It was like I turned on a hose and just someone sprayed me smack in the face. It was ridiculous. You could tell the people that were from Vegas and the people that were from here. I got acclimated kind of quick. Obviously, I've been in the state of Texas for a long time, so I kind of got back to what I knew. But, man, some people were going through it today with all that heat and that humidity.
Name names. Who was sweating through their shirt?
Kirk Morrison. He was. I mean, man, he was sweating like he was chasing down Ashton Genty, trying to get him to the ground. I mean, he was. Levi Edwards is another guy, and he's from Alabama. I was like, man, this should be right up your your alley, man. You should be used to some weather like this. But he was going through it. Jason Horowitz was talking about it. Brandy was going through it. I was like, man. It was funny. John McClain, he took us out to lunch, and he said, man, this ain't even a bad day today. This is actually one of the better weather days. And so, like I said, you could tell the ones that were really going through it.
Where'd you go to lunch? Most important question.
Papado's. Papado. Is it Papado? Yeah, Papado.
There's like 70 offshoots of that company.
I know. It's Papacitos,
What is it?
Papamitos, Paparitos. It was Papado.
They have so many different restaurants.
But what is it? Like,
Yeah.
is it Italian, Mexican?
What kind of food was it today?
It's like shrimp and
okay.
seafood. It's really good. And, I had the shrimp and fries. Brandy had the shrimp and dirty rice. And John had some kind of he had I don't know what he had. It was fantastic looking, though. So, and it was on the General's dime, so it was even better.
And is that it? That's the only meal you can only do lunch? Or you're doing an ESPN National show every night?
I got to do the show tonight, and I'll get done with that around midnight, and then I got to knock out the podcast, so I'll get done around 2 a.m., 2:30, and get to bed and be back up around 6 like I was this morning. So it's going and going, and that's how we roll.
I was going to send you a late night eats place, but yeah, if you're done at 2 and then you have to get up at 6, I
Yeah.
don't think you're going to. Probably not healthy to eat late night either.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm trying to live my best life. I'm trying to make sure that we all have an opportunity to do what we do, and some of us are doing what we do, and others aren't. So there's good times.
All right, well, enjoy the trip. Let's get you on one more time before you are out of there. So we appreciate the information today. Thank you, Q.
Absolutely, man. Great stuff. Appreciate y'all.
There he is, Q Myers.
Best boss on the planet, some would say.
I
would say.
I will 100% accept the weather complaints.
Well, humidity sucks.
I don't accept it when it's here.
Wait, what do you mean?
I get tired of people who live here complaining about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, but I'll say
Are you new to
1,000
the area?
times.
I mean, I don't even care when it's 116. I don't want to hear it.
I mean, I'll just say 1,000 times. Dry heat's better than the humidity.
It's not even close.
Yeah, way better. I hate being moist.
I'm not saying I'm a fit guy or like I'm Mr. Athlete.
Well, Steve.
Well, you see, you're not. You see at UNLV practice. Like I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm not standing out there for 3 hours in the sun, but like it's the players are there sweating like lunatics. The media is going to complain about heat. Humidity, it does suck though.
I saw the other day. The media have nice little Gatorades laid out for them at UNLV practice.
I don't think that was. Did you grab one?
No, I just saw somebody post about it. I was not there at that practice.
No, it's laid out for the players. I hope the
On
media
the little chairs.
Yes, that's not for us.
Oh, I saw somebody
players.
portray them as like.
Oh, okay, that's a hydration
media
break.
Hydration break.
That'd be great if you just started chugging a couple of them.
Yeah, dude, media members are so self-serving. I would not be surprised. Like, of course, this is for me.
Here comes Colin Fuller. He needs to get hydrated. Where's his Gatorade? Sorry, I drank it.
Right. That'd be the word. I couldn't. The other day, I was walking. So for the audience who doesn't know, the practice is there's a red area around the both fields. That's where we're supposed to walk around and whatnot. I fear of getting in the way of all of these things so much. The other day I was walking deep in the red area, and there was a drill going on, and one of the offensive linemen just kind of head down was like walking straight for me, and I was like, oh, dear God, like he's going to walk into me, and they're going to be like, get this guy out of here.
Well, you're more nimble than you used to be.
Yeah, I did get out of the way.
When you were puffy and offensive line size, you would have just clashed with him.
I mean, in reality, I probably would have just pancaked him right now because I'm just so strong and lean and
this has gotten out of
shape.
control.
We've gone head-to-head with the Division I athlete.
Please stop. You would not have. You're an old man. You've gotten in better shape, but let's calm it down.
Cofield and Company presents Grab Bag on ESPN Las Vegas.
Stick your hand in there, Dave.
All right, rolling on here. Grab Bag. There's a lot of good stuff from Q Myers on the Raiders. He is a realist. And I know I've hit this a couple times during the show today about access journalism and having to kiss the patooties, or people feeling that they have to kiss the arse of the teams they cover. Q does not. That was a real dose of reality about how the O-line played and also how the back end of the defense played.
I mean, this is, I think, what you wanted to see. Not that you wanted to see them struggle. You wanted to see them actually get tested.
Yep.
Because when you're playing against yourself, if you're not good, you don't really learn that much.
You don't.
And it's funny. I thought back to, because I don't know how this came up the other day. I was asked about this, but remember the summer of Jack Jones, when Jack Jones was like the greatest corner since sliced bread, and that defense was sick and everything was awesome.
Yep.
And then you realize, oh wait, no, they were just practicing against Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew all summer. And then they hit the field, and you were like, holy smokes, this is terrible.
I understand people are excited to have Fernando Mendoza on the Raiders. And when someone is taken number one, the expectation is they're going to play sooner than later. And I'm going to keep beating this drum. If you paid attention to what the coaching staff said before the draft and after the draft, and what Mike Sullivan said, the quarterback coach, there's a plan in place. They don't believe that Mendoza will be ready. And I think more importantly, as our buddy R.J. Clifford has said, one of our Raiders voices from the Autumn Windbags, he does not want Mendoza out there until the O-line is sorted out. We found out again today, the O-line is anything but sorted out. Yep. So then the amazing thing is, John, and I understand all radio shows are going to cover topics that are play the hits and elementary, but just reading tweets from the Rich Eisen show and the basic topics like, when is Mendoza going to get in there? Has the Raiders' plan changed for Mendoza? Why would it change? The O-line is an absolute work in progress. And Mendoza's not killing it. They have a plan. He's not playing. And he probably shouldn't play till week 8, 9, and 10. And the O-line better be together then. Otherwise, he's going to get slaughtered for half a season.
He's the second choice to an Offensive Rookie of the Year. To me, that's insane. I'm with you. I mean, just again, he's not going to play. They don't want him to play. And to your point, I'd actually
hold on, John. Just put him out there. The only way you get better is to play. That's not always the case.
Well, I think the point about the offensive line is the strongest one.
Yep.
We have seen many quarterbacks in the past lose their confidence completely as top picks because they play behind offensive lines that just let them get slaughtered. And you don't want that for Fernando Mendoza at all.
I'm sorry, John. They're in a city right now, Houston, which one of the, I don't even know what the right word is. I guess one of the tragedies of the organization would be David Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if David Carr would have turned out to be as good as his brother Derek, because Derek was better. But David Carr got mauled. Like 50-plus sacks his first 2 years. And I don't think he ever recovered from it. You don't want to send Mendoza out there to get crushed. And here's the other thing. As we watch him more against NFL-level athletes, he doesn't have escapability that many quarterbacks in the NFL have. And if people are listening to this like, oh, these guys are killing Mendoza. You drafted a pocket quarterback. He needs a strong offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
The line's not there yet. Kirk Cousins was brought in for a reason. 1, faced a tough schedule. 2, unfortunately, probably take a beating. But he's a veteran, so hopefully he's going to get the ball out quickly and won't take a beating. But you don't want that to be Mendoza for the first 8, 9 games if the line's not good, especially against the schedule.
You saw in the preseason game, Cousins' average up the target was under 6 yards. He was just dinking and dunking and getting the ball out. That's what you want from him.
This is going to be an amazing follow. It's going to be infuriating.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially when they get off to a not so hot start, it's going to be pull the plug.
And then Max Crosby gets traded.
Well, believe me, I was thinking of that as we were hearing about the defense struggling. I wonder what Max is thinking. If the defense isn't going to be good either, if they don't improve a lot, or the back end's not very good, we know what happens to him. He can get really frustrated, and then we start to hear about it publicly. That'll do it. Check socials for all the post-show action. We'll see you.